Hi, I'm Sweetie Abochi. Welcome to the AM News Bulletin on the AM Show. Details now. The short but intense torrential rains yesterday left chaos in its path after heavy winds tore through major neighborhoods in Accra. At the ANC Mall, over 30 vehicles were trapped beneath the collapsed solar roof of the car park. My colleague Michael Ashali was there and reports.
Just moments after a sudden torrential downpour ripped through Accra, the metal framework supporting one of Ghana's largest solar roofs at the ANC Mall collapsed, leaving chaos in its wake. Eyewitnesses and car owners stood in shock as the structure crumbled, burying over 50 vehicles beneath twisted steel and shattered panels.
Oh, Charlie.
Some cars miraculously escaped unscathed, but many did not. Hours later, mall management and solar roof operators worked tirelessly, cutting through the metal and unplugging panels to free the trapped vehicles. The team from the Ghana National Fire Service was dispatched to assist, but tensions flared as they were ordered to stand down, leaving Medina Divisional Fire Officer Abdullahi Salia visibly frustrated.
So when we came in, we assessed the situation and then we realized that the owners of the premises told us that they've already invited those who came, the company that came to do the installation, to take care of the situation. So actually, I even had issues with them because they were preventing us from assessing the scene. So we had a little bit of confrontation.
For now, all anyone can do is wait. Others brace for the worst. The mall has issued a statement assuring affected car owners of its commitment to addressing the situation. But for many, words offer little comfort as they stand helplessly by, watching their damaged vehicles remain trapped under the rubble. Thankfully, no casualties have been reported. Beyond the mall, Accra is also counting the cost of the storm as families grapple with damage left in its wake. For Joy News, Michael Ashali.
Now, Minister for Communications, Samuel Nate George, says he has authorized the dismissal of close to 100 staff of Ghana Post Company Limited. In what he calls a restructuring of the ministry and its agencies, Sam George has vowed to streamline the ministry to be effective and cost. Now, speaking to journalists in Parliament, the minister explained that his actions were not capricious, but properly founded.
People have raised questions about the staff rationalization ongoing at the ministry. But if you are a minister and you take over a ministry that has 3,117 staff in the ministry and its agencies, and you realize that almost 600 of them were recruited after December 7. Basically, you cannot expect me to come and inherit such mess and continue with it. And so the rationalization is ongoing. Today, I have authorized the termination of a few more at Ghana Post, almost 100, that were done post-December 7. And we'll continue this rationalization. I will clean up the ministry, make sure it is lean and efficient, and carries out its work.
Well, Sam George has also been tearing into former Communications Minister Ursula Owusu for the state's acquisition of Airtel Tigo. It will be recalled that the former minister claimed that AT was acquired for just $1, but Sam George has been describing the decision as reckless, as the country is now saddled with a 3.5 billion Ghana cedi debt.
Anyone to have told us that they bought Airtel Tigo for $1 and have taken over the ministry, and ATC, American Tower Company, just one of the companies Airtel Tigo owes, brought us a bill of 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. That's just ATC alone. Today, the American ambassador was in my office with a team, and one of the major issues was the indebtedness to ATC. The debt sitting on the books of Airtel Tigo is in excess of 3.5 billion Ghana cedis. So if someone told you they bought it for $1, who is going to pay the 3.5 billion?
Moving on, the Ashanti Regional Police Command has launched a manhunt for Martin Amwa, alias Baba Macho, suspected of robbing and killing a mobile money vendor in Kumasi. 3 other suspects have already been arrested in connection with a series of Momo vendor attacks that have left 3 dead in 2 months. Police are urging the public to assist in locating the fugitive. And Clinton Yeboah has more in this report.
3 mobile money vendors have died in 3 separate incidents in Kumasi in the last 2 months, causing fear and panic in many parts of the Ashanti region. And 2 out of these 3 incidents involved firearms. The Ashanti Regional Command of the Ghana Police Service has confirmed the arrest of 3 suspects believed to be in connection of this murder and robbery.
The arrested suspects have been identified as Charles Kwame Danso, 23, also known as Kwame Charles, or Miami, Philip Fojuo, 29, and Samuel Adai Mensah were arrested on 21st March 2025 at Pankrono and Etimetim, respectively. The suspects are currently in police custody and will soon be brought before the court to face justice.
Deputy Commissioner of the Ashanti Regional Police Command, Emmanuel Ted Kujo, is appealing to the public to assist in the search of the suspect, Martin Amwa, who is currently on the run.
The Police Command is therefore appealing to the public to assist in the search of the said Martin Amwa. Anyone with information regarding his whereabouts is urged to contact the police via the toll-free number 191 112 18555, MTN and Telcel.
Responding to these incidents, the Ashanti Regional Security Council earlier today developed strategies to clamp down on the robbery and murder cases in the Ashanti region by beefing up police visibility and offering security trainings to mobile money vendors. For Joy News, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
The Basari Youth Alliance for Development is urging action on the untapped 2.8 billion tons of iron ore in Shani, warning that its neglect is stalling economic growth and job creation in the Tatale Sanguli district. Northern Regional Correspondent Martina Bugri has the story.
Basari Youth Alliance for Development believe the extraction of the iron ore could have transformed the local economy, providing jobs, generating revenue, and stimulating growth. Instead, the community is plagued by poverty, unemployment, and underdevelopment. Addressing the press conference in Tatale, spokesperson of the group, Wakil Matai, said it is essential that government takes immediate action to revive the iron ore mining project.
The extraction of this precious mineral has been neglected by successive governments over the years. This has led to the deterioration of the initial infrastructure, which has been put in place at various points in time. This is very unfortunate. The continuous neglect of the precious deposit and its precious minerals around these communities have denied us many opportunities, the community and the district at large.
Mr. Wakil also appealed to the people of the area to support the call.
We appeal to all our academic, intellectual, both home and abroad, to use their experience and contacts to support this urgent call.
Moving on. Acting CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority, Professor Nanama Brown Kluche, is urging greater investment in scientific research to address climate change threats, including water security, deforestation, and land degradation. Speaking at her inaugural lecture at the University of Ghana, she emphasized the need for government support to accelerate national development. Carlos Caloni reports.
The inaugural lecture at the BAM Library, University of Ghana, brought together faculty members, students, and climate researchers for an in-depth exploration of 69 groundbreaking scientific research works by Professor Nanama Brown-Kluche. As a leading climate scientist and vice chair of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC Working Group, and now the acting chief executive officer of the Environmental Protection Authority, her in-depth knowledge in the area is set to play a crucial role in Ghana's climate resilience efforts. Addressing the press on the vital link between scientific research and national development, she called on the government to significantly increase investment in research to drive the country's progress.
Research is largely expensive, and so it takes commitment and investment to produce research. So research results can take a while, some are short, but then it takes consistency and perseverance to produce research findings, and most of them are also informed by the research-informed policies. And so we need government to invest in research. All through my research publications and research work, I get support from external governments, so grants and external or donor funding that supports my research. We need the government of Ghana to support our research, not just in climate change, but all research in the country. But if we do research in science, it will help us a lot in our development.
Professor Kluche further stressed the urgent need for action on water security, deforestation, and land degradation due to climate change and illegal mining.
We have one of the impacts of climate change is water availability and water accessibility and water quality. So our water bodies are already confronted with the impact of climate change. And now we have the additional challenge of the illegal mining activities affecting the water body. So we are really constrained in terms of getting quality water and available water for use in this country.
Now, because about 1,000 babies in Ghana are born with clubfoot each year, yet stigma and low awareness leave many untreated. Today, the Christian Health Association of Ghana is offering free treatments for children under 5. Emmanuel Jivenu reports on 1.5-year-old Rabiatu, who is on the road to recovery after successful treatment.
Rabiatu Abdul Majid was born with clubfoot, a condition that turns the feet inwards or downwards. Her mother, Hamidatu Yusuf, was terrified when she first saw her baby. I
was scared. I was asking myself why God gave me this child, good child, and her leg is like this. Everybody was asking me, what's wrong with her leg? What's wrong with her leg? So I cannot say anything. I only told them my leg is pain here.
When Rabiatu was just 2 weeks old, they began treatment.
They started casting her leg before. She was like 2 weeks before they started casting her leg. We got every 2 weeks.
Rabiatu is one of about 1,000 babies born in Ghana every year with clubfoot. But many parents do not recognize the condition and do not know it can be treated.
Clubfoot is treatable so far as the parents help do their part in following all the treatment protocols. treatable most of the time without surgery.
Treatment begins with casting, followed by a minor surgery in rare cases, and then months and sometimes years of bracing and wearing orthopedic shoes.
If you are lucky enough to be diagnosed in a hospital who has an idea on the treatment and they can direct you to us. Mostly from a week to 2 weeks, we start the treatment. It starts right from birth. So if the baby is available, there are no complications, then the first day you are brought in, we start the casting or the correction stage.
The Christian Health Association of Ghana, CHAG, has over the past 17 years provided free treatment for about 8,000 children with clubfoot. On 26th and 27th March 2025, free treatment will be available at the Kwadaso SDA Hospital in Kumasi. Today, Rabiatu is walking and growing stronger. Her mother has just one message for other parents. For Rabiatu, each step is a quiet triumph over fear, doubt, and delay. Emmanuel Jiveno, Joy News, Accra.
Well, you want to take a particular notice of this because it's still ongoing. Today and tomorrow, somewhere in Kumasi, they're giving free treatment. The details are on your screens, actually. From the 26th to 27th of March 2025 at SDA Hospital in Kwadaso in Kumasi. So take note. Now, the Dr. Hilary Mann Technical University Pharmaceutical Science Student Association has launched a public education campaign on cerebrospinal meningitis in the Wa municipality and Nadoli-Kalio district, Wa. One of the hardest hit areas has recorded 66 suspected cases and 2 deaths. Joy News' Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
The Upper West region within the last 3 months has recorded millions of cases of cerebrospinal meningitis. 2 of the most affected districts and municipalities in the region are Nadoli-Kalio and Wa. Zeroing in on the Wa municipality, it recorded at the end of last week 66 suspected cases of meningitis and 2 deaths. One of the hardest hit communities is Zobele, where there are 8 confirmed cases with 1 death. Concerned about the threat of the deadly disease, the Dr. Hilary Mann Technical University Pharmaceutical Science students of Ghana, FAMSAC, embarked on an education program at Zobele aimed at sensitizing the people on meningitis and drug abuse. Head of Department for Pharmaceutical Science at the Dr. Hilary Mann Technical University, Bayer Martin Sixtus, threw further light on the program.
People in this part of the world, anytime they are feeling ill, they just go to the chemical shop and buy medications to alleviate their ailments. However, meningitis is a very dangerous disease, and usually some of the symptoms include headache, fatigue, vomiting, common ailments that they may go to the chemical shop to get medications. So the students have decided to come this afternoon to educate the public on the dangers of meningitis, how to prevent meningitis.
Director at the Pharmaceutical Services of the Upper West Regional Hospital, Farm Daniel Kwam, who also doubles as a lecturer at the university, noted that though the program is for the students, it is incumbent on them to be by them to give them the needed support to help fight the disease.
Per my lecture, that is one of my areas, and I've already taken the students through meningitis, a thorough lecture on meningitis. So once they said they are going out to do such a public education, we all needed to be around them, give them the needed support, so that at the end of the day, what we are all fighting for, to reduce meningitis cases in this region, will be achieved.
Women's Commissioner of the Dr. Hilary Mann Technical University, Aziz Yunis called on the public to seek early treatment at health facilities than resort to self-medication of drugs.
Otherwise, I just want to encourage the public to adhere to the little education we have given them, not to self-medicate when they are having a little bit of issues, stiffness of the neck, pain in the neck. They shouldn't take it to be any other thing in order to self-medicate, but they should see their nearest doctor to get the best consultation.
FAMSAC clamors the program by donating to the Double community liquid soap and sanitizers. Assembly member for the Double electoral area, Ibrahim Zakaria Tenda, and the Double sub-district in charge, Adebre Michael, commended FAMSAC for the initiative, stating that it will go a long way in helping to fight the disease.
We are very grateful they actually came around because we feel that we need to educate the community more in order to reduce these cases. So having them around to educate the people on how to prevent the occurrence of the disease is very key. I'm only hoping that the community will take the education very serious and practice what they actually heard today.
Reporting for Day News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Business Update comes up next with Benjamin Akaku.
Welcome back. Now, our sole story for the morning. Co-chair of the Ghana Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, Dr. Steve Manteau, has warned Ghana will lose huge sums of revenue to the smuggling of gold if urgent steps are not taken to tighten and enforce the export laws. This caution follows a revelation by Finance Minister Dr. Kasila Forson that 60 tons of gold worth $1.2 billion was smuggled out of Ghana. Reacting to the development, Dr. Manteau called for the strict enforcement of the export laws.
Gaps in our law that has been capitalized by foreign players in the sector. We legislated that our gold can be exported only to Kotoka International Airport. Just imagine somebody operating a mine far away in Bole, Daklupe, or Tinga, which is close to the Burkinabe border and also the Ivorian border. They won't actually pass their gold through Kotoka. That's a long distance to travel. So they actually work with Burkinabes who actually serve as financiers of the operations of the small-scale miners. And in return, the small-scale miners sell their gold to these Burkinabes and other West African nationals who cross the border with it. Now, this is money that could have helped in terms of domestic revenue mobilization to finance our national development priorities. So to the extent that this goes unchecked, this country is going to lose a lot of revenues that we need badly to finance our country's development.
It's a wrap for our business update. Back to you, Sweetie Abochi.
Thank you, Ben. And that wraps up the news bulletin on the AM show. Now the conversations begin, starting with the news review. Dr. Kwame Asasante is our guest. He's political scientist and head of European studies at the University of Ghana, as well as Professor Michael Ayamga. He's a development economist with West African Center for Sustainable Rural Transformation. Please stay. We're back in a bit.
Willow Lane, where elegance will meet tranquility in the heart of Accra. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and also with a flexible payment option. At Whaley Properties, we provide you with 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay a memorable one. All you have to do now, pick up your phone, note these numbers, give them a call. 0240 111 119 or 0504 499 999. You can also visit www.waylead.org.
Well, let me tell you about how every year thousands of Ghana's brightest minds seek better prospects abroad, leaving a gap in our workforce, and how we can fix that. The question we're asking is, how can we inspire talents in this country to stay? you want to join David Ofosu-Dorte, Professor Mary Shetrana, and Her Excellency Dr. Amina Gurib Fakim, former President of Mauritius, at the 12th edition of the Ishmael Yamson and Associates Business Roundtable to discuss managing the talent exodus, leveraging private-public partnerships for growth. This is happening on the 7th of May 2025 at Labadi Beach Hotel, and it starts at 9 a.m. prompt. To register your attendance, simply text your name and organization to this number, 0530-117-202, or you can also send an email to info@ieyamson.com. The news review is on now, and our guest joining us, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, is joining us via Zoom. And in the studio with us is Professor Michael Ayamga. He's a development economist. Prof, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Let me check if we have Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante on Zoom with us as well. Hi, Doc. Good morning.
Hi, Sweetie. Good morning. Good morning to Ben and Prof, of course. And good morning to our viewers.
Good morning, Doc.
Well, let's start with you then, Doc. You know how we do it. You have about a minute and a half to walk us through your trail of thoughts for us this morning. And then we'll come back to the studio. Yes.
Yeah. I'll start with something that has been on my mind since time immemorial. By looking at what the government is doing, I feel that it's important that government may give it a thought of what I'm going to say. We have to work towards Ghana beyond IMF. This is a fact. It's not every day that we want to go to IMF. We want to raise resources here and use it to develop our own system, a system that we can call our own. And one surest way by which we can do this is what? Through tourism. Tourism. There are a lot of tourist potentials in this country. And I feel that if we're able to take them seriously and plan and execute them properly, I'm sure we can rake in a lot. And there is one example that we can look at and see if it is possible. We emulate here and then use it as status for such a program. In the United States, any president who leaves office, they build in your hometown your museum. Is it not possible for us to also begin to look at this and build museums for our leaders? That will serve as a tourist site. When people go there, they pay for the tour, they pay for souvenir, they pay for food and other things, and it creates jobs for people. This is free money that is there for us to grab. Can you imagine we going to build the resting place of President Liman, and then people will fly from, other parts of the world to Tamale and continue to Golu? We go to, Keita to build the home of Mr. Rawlings, his resting place there. And then we go to other places where we had our leaders. I'm sure this will be a good thing. I had opportunity in 2017 to be at Kennedy Museum in Boston, and I saw a lot.
Right.
I believe that this is one of the proposals that we can consider if we really want to go beyond IMF.
Thank you so much, Doc. And Prof, your take now.
Yes, my take directly takes me back to my home in northern region, where there is some upheaval regarding the request of Ndani Yana to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to consider.
Can you please speak up a bit?
Consider renaming the Yakubu Tale Airport to Bewa International Airport, and that has generated some upheaval. Some have made distasteful comments about the king, and they have been arrested. I'm thinking that going forward, we need to be more engaging when it comes to naming such national edifices. Anytime there's the slightest inclinations towards a disturbance in the northern region, it takes me back to the days of the tensions, and I don't want anything to disturb it. I believe that if you want to name something in a kingdom and there's a traditional overhead, the best option would have been to give him his option. Do you have an idea? Collate some names, collate views so that these things don't arrive. I am particularly excited because the name Bewa is historical. It embodies the whole of northern Ghana. And then it's inclusive. There is no one ranging from the Gonjes to the Gombes to Mampusis, even the entirety of northern Ghana. We all find some connection one way or the other to the Bewa dynasty. And I thought that Ndanya Nah's request was much in line, so that the airport, which is an edifice and a point of unification of the entire northern Ghana, doesn't appear one-sided. And those who have taken to the media to make disparaging remarks about the overlord, they are disturbing. And I believe that governments in the future must take steps to ensure that there is no rancor and disturbances after naming of such edifices.
Right. Ah, well. Okay, so let's get into the newspapers and see what stories are in there. I have the news center, and I want to start from there. Heavy rainstorm wreaks havoc in Accra. We saw the reports this morning from the ANC where about 30 vehicles were affected, but no casualties have been recorded yet. And Dr. Isiama proposes 2 reforms to bring MPC closer to the public. That is Monetary Policy Committee. And Minority Leader accuses government of intimidation. Then we have the story of 1,347 ECG containers missing at Tema Port. This story is as wild as I read it. I don't know how containers can disappear into thin air, but when we get to that bit, I'll read out some details and then we can discuss. Republic Bank Ghana marks RFHL milestone as Staff Excellence Ball. And then Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia donates 200,000 CDs and 1,000 bags of cement to a Doom Blue Light fire victim. So let's get into the newspaper. And I want to start from the story about the missing containers. And that story is on page 4 of the news center. So an independent audit has revealed that 1,347 containers belonging to the Electricity Company of Ghana are unaccounted for at the Tema Port. ECG initially claimed to have 2,491 uncleared containers filled with cables and other essential equipment. However, an investigative audit found only 1,134 containers at the port, leaving a significant shortfall of 1,357 missing containers. I heard this story last night. I think it was on Newsnight. I don't know at what point you heard the story, but what was your reaction to it?
Yes, I was just flying into Accra when I landed, and I heard it, and I also read my former colleague, Dr. John Jinapo, talking about it. And I was just standing on the street and watching trailers with containers pass, and I was just imagining how many 1,300 containers would look like, and how they managed to disappear in such a security zone. I think that it is something that just points to the level of rot, impunity, and disregard for law in our country. And if we are having energy crisis, if we are having a problem with our energy sector, we need to point at these things and realize that it is not just politicians. A lot goes down the line, because I don't think that if these containers were actually purchased, because what I'm thinking of is maybe they were just trumped up in the books to make it look high, but people actually didn't buy them. And then maybe that may point to officials and authorities. But if the containers were physically at the port and they had disappeared, I believe that we have to be making thorough and sweeping purging of the port, because it's disturbing. 1,300 containers. I can't imagine how many sports stadiums that's going to fill. Let's just leave the monetary value. It speaks about the rot in our system. And I have very much confidence in John Jinapo and the energy minister to tackle this. But it goes beyond him.
Right.
It's a whole security and corruption problem that we have to deal with.
I hear Minority are offering their full support to help them bring some sanity to this matter. But Dr. Kwame Asante, what did you make of this story?
Very serious story, but I'm not surprised, because corruption is rife in the public sector. But I am very hopeful that this government will walk the talk of fighting corruption head on. And given what Jinapo has started, the energy minister, I believe that he will get to the bottom of this so that we end it once and for all. It's becoming one too many. And we should make it a point that We fight corruption to the extent that it becomes unattractive to people who want to go to public office so as to what? Milk us dry. And I support the government that it should use all means available, provided they are legal, and then get the wrongs corrected so that we will be able to save a lot. Remember, corruption takes a lot of resources from this country. If we are able to even fix that, IMF will not go there.
Right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Let me sort of rush through the news center, and then I'll stop on one major story, and then we can move on from there. Baumia donates 200,000 Ghana cedis to the victims of that Edum Kumasi fire. Majority Leader hails President Mahama as talk and do leader. And the Supreme Court to rule on removal of security heads on May 7th. Access to education rises, but quality shows fluctuations. That is a report by the Ghana Statistical Service. And they've revealed that while access to education in Ghana has steadily increased over the years, the quality of education has fluctuated. And you can reflect on this briefly when I come to you. Government to take on board all constructive criticism on 2025 budget commentaries, and Minority Leader accuses government of intimidation. I think I want to stop on the story of, it was a story I saw about, okay, just a second. Let me go to the back page and see if that story is there. Partey doubles inspires Ghana to victory. Cote d'Ivoire maintain Group F lead. That is not the story I'm looking for, but we can, COP, yes, Mrs. Mamiya Tiwa Adodankwa, a police career marked by political misconception. I know this is an editorial, but I just want to take your impression of Mamiya Adodankwa Tiwa's political career and what you make of it. And then you can reflect on the state of education as reported. This time I want to start with you, Dr. Kwame Asante.
Mami Tiwa's editorial, I've not read it. If you can give me a gist of it.
Well, the first time COP Mrs. Mamiya Tiwa Adodankwa received a promotion through special recommendation was during the tenure of Mr. Mohammed Al-Hassan as Inspector General of Police under President John Dramani Mahama. It goes on and on, really. It talks about the mystery of COP Adodankwa, a surprising new appointment at the NDC, Iyoko appointment and political scrutiny, and political labels and career projection. I think it's just like a comprehensive assessment of a sort on her entire political career. But I don't think we have time, Doc, to go into all the details.
Yeah, what I glean from it is that, you know, when we're working in public office, we have to distinguish ourselves and work to the best of our abilities, and then ensure that the systems that are in place will promote us accordingly. That's all. So politics associated with it, we must do away and make sure that meritocracy exists within the public service, and that those who deserve promotion get, not because of any political consideration. But I'll move on to the issue of quality education.
Right.
Yet we are experiencing access to education increases, but quality dips. That is a worrying situation. Much as we want to see access expanded, we also want to see corresponding, increase in quality of education. So I think it is incumbent upon this new administration to take note of this and fix this problem. Recently, I heard a story about a school in Nanumba, and Bimbila, where children are living in dilapidated building, in that building with cracks and all that. Yesterday, another story that children not only escaped death, because there was a building which was near collapsing and all that. These are ugly spectacles that we don't want to see within the country educational system. It is not enough to say that you've expanded education without the basic logistics not available. We need everything so that children can have safe environment to study, and then improve their lot so that their God-given talents will be nurtured, tapped, and developed and used for the development of this country.
Thank you, Doc. And this is a report from Ghana Statistical Service, and they did it in collaboration with the Ministry of Education. I just want to give you some context, Prof. They're saying that the findings showed that the gross enrollment rate at kindergarten level more than doubled over the past 2 decades, from 51% to 122%. And similarly, the primary gross enrollment rate increased from 80% to 90%. Junior high school rose from 64% to 98%, and senior high school tripled from 25% to 72%. But quality shows fluctuations.
Yes, I think we have not actually been making our education plans with our population and the demographic change into taking that in the mind. Because you see, as the middle class grows, as many people get enlightened, they send their wards to school. In the past, you could just go to some parts in northern Ghana and almost half the kids are not in school. Now everybody wants to send their kids in school. So I think that that is driving the trends we are seeing. And we just encourage people to go to school, but we don't actually take these statistics into consideration and talk about maybe what buildings we should put in place, how many teachers we should engage. If we were doing that, it will allow for some amount of harmony in our employment sector. Because what has been happening in the country is you just see every ministry advertising to employ. Nobody actually does a needs assessment properly. So if you realize that this year we need more teachers, why don't you sacrifice some immigration, some even in the military or some in other sectors, and then employ more teachers? We have to take the statistics into consideration. But more importantly, we have to divorce education from politics. Education has been overly politicized to the point that even among us in the education institution, beginning to wear out its faces. I'm now fearing a point where we'll be grading students based on their political activity and lineage in the school, because it is getting there if we don't stop it. Being a technocrat or an expert in an area doesn't matter anymore. Politicians just get up and say, do this in education, and you are doing it. And when you talk, they have to say you are saying this.
And there's systems in place to check these things so that we don't get to that point where you just talk about where we're grading, students based on political affiliations rather than, merits.
I'm saying if we don't stop the politicization, it will get there. It will get there because the universities, the senior secondary schools are getting overly politicized. Student engagement in the public space is no longer an issue of me learning the act of leadership, honing my skills. No, they are actually into politics. Many of us have our political leanings we've been hiding in the past, but it gets to a point that you have to show it because it becomes a means of you either saving your job or rising through the system. And it's disturbing. It's disturbing that now, if you want to be vice chancellor, and let me just put this in context, I was at the administration and somebody was saying that, okay, if you have to be vice chancellor, a lot of things has to go right, including who is in power at the time. These are not things that should be happening in our education sector. It used to be a symbol of pride when you are able to rise to that level, regardless of which political party is in power. The institutions are broken down. The structures that you are mentioning are virtually non-existent, or even where they are there, they are extremely dysfunctional. And we ought to take that into consideration. Dr. Asayanas bear the brunt of all the poor quality in our education system. When everybody, all the students are now brought onto us, and we are supposed to work magic to produce an employable and competent person. And I can tell you, the material we take in is increasingly becoming impossible to get them to be literate. That's just reading, right? Let alone be competent in a particular area. So it's extremely important, and I'm sounding this caution to the entire government machinery, both the opposition and the government, that they are not doing this country any favors by overly politicizing education.
But just a quick point on that. I remember, as you spoke, the Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute and some thoughts about that. Having lived in Cuba, they have their own propagandist machinery, and how everybody in the country seems to think a certain way based on a certain national agenda, a certain national pride and all of that. Even if you look at their athletes, they have a certain way of going about things, boxers among others. And even in baseball, I ask myself, when it comes to the politicians you refer to, are we not aware of the problem? Look at Tescon and Tain in our tertiary institutions. A lot of the people you would see in governance today, especially the young crop, came through these entry points. They engaged in student politics, either seeking, even now, SRCs are full of partisan elements. Yeah. So I think we have to stop pretending. Yeah. I'm not saying it's wrong to do student politics or partisan politics at that level, but if you make it so rewarding that once you go through that system, you get rewarded, PRO, then they move to the next. We are going to create this problem that, in fact, we have created that problem, and we have to find a way of addressing it. You know it, the politicians know it. How do we solve it? That's just what I want.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Let me pause here. Let's do some other papers. I do have the Accra Times and the Custodian, but if we have time, I'll come back to it. Prof, which one do you have?
Yes, I also have the, I was looking at the Punch Africa,
right.
And I definitely wanted to talk about the AG dragging two people to court in alarming scandals. That's because it hits home. It hits close to home. Dr. Dominic Ayine is my MP and also a brother. And when I saw him talking, I've seen some commentary following it, and I've known Dr. Dominic Ayine since my student days when I was in Legon as well. And this is somebody who has some humanity to him. And when I saw these scandals, especially somebody and the wife locked up, I was already thinking of what about the kids and so on. So I got a bit alarmed. But the humanity of the Attorney General started showing up when he talked about the issues of somebody taking a plea bargaining and getting a reduced sentence or letting to work. And I want us to be very dispassionate about this discourse, that we are only muddying the water and making things complicated. Should these culprits be found guilty at the end of the day and they don't actually take a path and they go maybe the full sentence that's going to affect their families. I'm particularly surprised by the lack of sophistication in the things that have been done. And I like watching crime movies, and I said I wouldn't have paid a CD to watch what happened. The environment of impunity. How does a security operative commit such an obvious crime? You have to ask yourself. And allegedly, let me add, it maybe is the environment at the time. Nobody was afraid that one day somebody is going to come after you. How do you go just transfer money to an account and then go draw it yourself? So I was looking at the brazen impunity with which some of these acts are occurring, and I asked myself, what could have accounted for it? How far what drove us here? But I want us to, as Ghanaians, much as we want to talk about this issue as a corruption, we should also look at the individuals involved. I don't think that Dr. Dominic Ayine, as I know him, needs prosecutions of people to be validated. I know him very, very well.
Right.
We have told him in the constituency sometimes to tell a little lies, otherwise he sits in trouble. He will always refuse.
Okay.
And people tend to listen to him. So that is my advice on this matter, that families are involved. People have the tendency to grow up not knowing their kids. And once things like this come to the media, we have to think of the families. Yeah.
Dr. Kwame Santi, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Looks like there are two sides of the coin. I mean, the intersection between human rights and fighting corruption, trying this case in the public opinion versus procedural breaches that minority is saying. Drop a pin. What's on your mind in terms of this issue?
One, I'll start by saying that corruption is rife in this country, and you can find it in every aspect of public life. Evidence can be seen in the figures within the Transparency International, and is there. You will be inundated with figures in there. But that aside, this country, if you read our constitution, the preamble, it tells us that we, the people of this country, believe in certain principles, such as probity, accountability, and all that. So at a point in time, if any government decide to probe into issues, I have no problem whatsoever. But what we want to always remind government of, that they must do whatever they do within the framework of the law. And that is where human rights are catered for. That is where respect for dignity is also in there. So once you conduct your activity within the ambit of the law, I do not want to believe that you will cross the lines. But if you do, we as a society must point it out to you. Remember that this government or this country has signed on to the good governance principle, that we are ready to fight corruption, and then we are also ready to ensure accountability, and that all these principles ought to be rooted through transparency process that is verifiable, process that people have information, process that everybody will follow. So we need to guide ourselves through this. Once we are able to get the legal basis right, I'm sure we are home and dry.
Okay, thank you, Doc and Prof. Ben?
Well, I'll start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. National Education Statistics report, quality education fluctuates through access to school, though access to school increases in past 2 decades. And a lot of talk about that from 2000 to 2023 and what has been happening. Minister orders probe into 1.5 billion Ghana cedi ECG value containers disappearance, and that is definitely a story I'm getting into. 3 killed, 3 injured in Binduri gun attack. Youth group calls for curfew. And on the back page of the paper, lack of psychiatrists affecting mental health care in Bono East region. Dr. Apia says so. Our attitude as a country to mental health is one that I guess ought to be studied. And 4 institutions sign MOU for competency-based training in recycling technology. I'll start with the bit on mental health. There is not even one psychiatrist in the Bono East region making detection and treatment of mental health issues. The story says a bit challenging, a bit. Currently, the region relies on a few psychiatric health nurses to manage mental health cases. Now, the Bono East Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Paulina Clara Apia, who discloses to the Ghanaian Times, he has said during emergency situations, mental health cases had to be referred to other facilities such as Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital and others across the country. According to the National Population Census, Ghanaian Times, there are a lot of mistakes in this story. I can count at least about 6, spelling, wrong use of words. Anyway, here instead of census, I'm seeing conscious. The Bono East region has a population of 1,308,861 with 11 administrative districts. But according to the speaker, a total of 230 health workers posted to the region last year. Most of them rejected their postings due to high cost of accommodation, inadequate working facilities affecting doctor-patient population ratio in the region. Editor of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, acting editor Alhaj Salifu Abdul Rahman, you really need to check this story on the back page of the paper. And, you know, the story is not storying. But let's focus on the meat of the matter. I'll start with you, Doc. Mental health care in Ghana, it appears we've gone to sleep. Whether it's at work, whether it's at school, there are a lot of school children. Sometimes when you speak to them, it is clear. You lecture. I'm sure you see some people that sometimes, whether the economic situation or something, they are stressed. Their mental state is not right. Yet we pretend nothing is happening. What's your take on this?
You've hit the nail right on the head. This has been a problem, and the country seems to pay lip service to it. I think last week I had a conversation with a friend who is in psychology, and I told him that, hey, my brother, you guys have a lot to do. There are a lot of mental issues here. But yes, we'll discuss that. It's simply because we have not attached the needed importance to the problem. So the resources that need to get in there to support the effort at dealing with this problem has been inadequate. We channel resources to very unimportant ventures, and we leave more pressing issues unattended to. And that is the price we are paying for. I believe that we need to step up our game and deal with this problem once and for all, because it's becoming one too many. And if we don't take care, the effect, we will not be able to handle it. Look at all over issue of mental health. is on the increase, but our attention is not on that. We are focusing on things that you and I do not need, things that do not bring any benefit to us. I think we must get our priorities right.
Thank you for those quick points. You also teach. You're a lecturer as well. Do you ever encounter students whom, I mean, visibly are stressed, depressed, frustrated?
Oh, yes, it's a common thing, especially when I was senior hall tutor and I had to, from one point in other, counsel students. You just see the deficiency in our health system. It is designed to think of mental health as those on the streets who are already mad, and that is at the tail end of things. We don't have systems in place that try to preempt these things and to put in structures to ensure that people who are actually having some mental challenges, it doesn't escalate. So we don't have anything in place to even detect these things early. Psychologists will always tell us, my friend, that we are all mad to a certain degree. And
it just doesn't manifest to the point where...
manifest to the point. And we ought to take this thing seriously now, especially given the opioid crisis we are facing in the country. Just a week ago, some people were doing some work for me, and the young boys, and they came to say, if I want them to finish the work today, I have to go and get them some cocktail of concoctions. I said, you people, are you serious? But
we're asking you to get that.
Yeah, that people do it now. If you want people, young people, to actually be strong enough to work, they have to take opioids. They are not even strong to work for an hour, whether it's in farming or they are doing construction work, and people take it deliberately. So that is where we are headed. Apart from actually going after the opioid crisis, we have to begin to put in our mental institutions in place. In the universities, it's serious. A simple challenge with one course or two can push a student over the edge. And we have to see this. I can say I don't remember us having, let's say, a psychiatrist in our establishment designated to helping students deal with mental challenges.
I mean, look at the issue here. An entire region.
Yeah.
An entire region. Not even one psychiatrist in the Bono East region. How is that even possible?
And also, let's look at training. We have to look at the training of medical personnel. And you realize that the desire to do it is not there. People would rather be gynecologists, neurologists, and the rest than go to be a psychiatrist. And we have to incentivize that sector to ensure that people can become psychiatrists and still earn a decent living. They used to call one doctor, the late Dr. Abdullahi, that philanthropist, he sold recipes, the mad doctor. That was because he used to help people who were mentally challenged. But you can imagine that tag on somebody who wants to be a medical professional in that field, what is going to happen. Yeah. So apart from giving incentives to that area, we need to also know that a doctor is a doctor, and a doctor with the most patience is the psychiatrist, I can say.
I'll blaze through a few more stories. Do you have any
just to say that don't underestimate what a good therapy session can do for you. I mean, while we're advocating for medical professionals and all, we should also sort of encourage people to seek help when they need it. So take it from experience. A good therapy session will reset you right back. So that's that.
We simply don't have the culture of going to see, like in America they will call a shrink, right? So people think if you go, hey, what teaching? That kind of mentality. So there's even a stigma with seeking help when you need it because, we are all shouldering our problems. But people break at different levels. Yeah. You get it? What you may be able to take, the next person may not be able to shoulder. We're all different. Which is why, for example, if someone gives birth, there's the trauma for some.
Postpartum.
Postpartum depression. And but we all give birth. Why you and all of that. People have mental health issues, and in this country, it's like if you bring it up, you are being too much. Yeah, when the person gets on the streets, then we realize that actually the issue was serious. But just quickly through a few more stories. 3 killed, 3 injured in Binduri gun attack. Youth group calls for curfew. And 3 people have been shot dead and 3 others injured when some unidentified men attacked residents of Natinga in the Binduri district of the Upper East region. The deceased have been identified as Awuni Sumaila, 58, Amadou Shaibu, 41, and Aguma Adam, 48. The injured are also identified as Itifu Seidu, 46, Bukari Seidu, 54, and Idris Azab, who is 40. Disturbing news. Suit against removal of IGP security agency heads dismissed. And a 5-member panel of the Supreme Court yesterday dismissed an application seeking to stop President John Dramani Mahama from removing former Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akuffo Dampare, and heads of other security agencies from office. Justice Paul Bafuboni, who presided over the panel, and if you hear Bafuboni, it must bring back some memories, if you remember, who presided over the panel, said the actions of the president were not intended to overreach the Supreme Court. If you want more details of that, go to that story. Quality education fluctuates though access to school increases for past 2 decades. And although access to education has steadily increased for the past 2 decades, quality of education has fluctuated. A Ghana Statistical Service National Education Statistics report has revealed. The report said over the 2 decades, the pupil-teacher ratio, that's the PTR, saw a slight decline across 3 education levels, kindergarten, primary, and junior high schools, with some fluctuations. However, at the primary level, the PTR increased to approximately 38 pupils per teacher in 2022 and 2023. It goes on and on. Let me do my final story. I just want to box all of them together. Minister orders probe into 1.5 billion Ghana cedi ECG value containers disappearance. This country called Ghana. The Minister of Energy and Green Transition, Mr. John Abdullahi Janapo, has ordered a full-scale investigation into the disappearance of 1,328 containers belonging to the Electricity Company of Ghana at the port. According to the minister, a total of 2,491 containers was identified as being held at the port. However, ECG itself could only account for some of them, leaving 1,328 unaccounted for. The estimated value, which is where I'm ending, of all the containers was about 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. In which country will you see something like this? Doc, let me start with you.
Yeah, I think some of the stories we have touched on them, but I will go back to look at majority saying that they will take all the contributions, criticisms about the budget, and then do the needful by giving us something that is worth looking at. I think that is the spirit behind governance, and that you must be ready to accept criticisms and also bear in mind that their criticisms are the oils that grease the wheels of governance, without which it grinds to a halt. So it doesn't matter how painful the criticisms may be. You should be able to take them in your strides and then look at them where they mean well, you incorporate, and then help society in dealing with our problems. Not everybody will speak the same point as you have in mind. People may have their own views and ideas, but when they mean a lot, please let us not ignore them. That is the spirit behind every democratic enterprise.
Thanks for your thoughts. Let me come to you, Prof.
Yes, as you mentioned, the issue of the containers at the port is something I want to see it used as an example to kickstart the overhaul of our institutions. I believe that this morning already some people should be walking. If the containers were really there and they are gone, you shouldn't have your job. You should probably begin to go home. It should be a sweeping thing. I don't want a situation where you are launching probes and so on. I think that there should be action, and this is nationally disgracing. We don't want to be going through it. Just let's leave the value aside. How can such a thing happen? It means that the actors are many, the stakeholders. It's a wide network, and you started by cracking down such actions. Of course, I'm also very happy with the posturing of government that they are willing to take criticisms. For me, when they present budgets, I think that we ought to stop the act of comparing this man's budget to that man's budget. It's what somebody ought to do. So if you can suggest areas they should have tackled and other things, that's the essence of a budget. But budgets have become very politically charged events that once they present it, it becomes issues of banter. What I would say is that we still go through this distributive budget approach where we want to give small to every sector. I want to see a point where we can begin to be more focused. We shouldn't adopt the agenda.
I saw this coming.
Yeah, agenda 111 type of hospitals where you spread them through the country and you can't finish all of them.
Right.
It hasn't got to a point where we become more sectorial. We put our money where our mouth is, and also look at the returns to investment in the various sectors.
Right.
Where do we get the most for every CD we invest in the economy? Do we put more there to ensure that at least the economy is growing? Then we can take those proceeds and spread it. The idea of let me give this ministry this ministry that, and then we leave the most important things out is always leading to us spending money and not actually getting a lot out of it.
The Ghanaian publisher, just headlines. Sam George sacks 100 Ghana Post workers. He's given reasons for that. Persecution won't break our spirit, Afenyo Markin tells Mahama. And indeed, it shouldn't. But if wrongs have been done, then the law should break the rot. That should happen. Attorney General under fire over public trial of Edu Boahene, and Baumia donates 200,000 Ghana cedis and 1,000 bags of cement to Edum fire victims. That's a wrap for me, sweetie.
No, that's it for the news review. Thank you all so much for joining us. The custodian has all the stories, really. We've got into that already. You can't bully us, Minority tells AG. We'll seek justice for Edu Boahene. Legal team says Mustafa Yusuf highlights NPP's unmatched sports infrastructure. Those who join us for this conversation, Professor Ayamga is a development economist with West African Center for Sustainable Rural Transformation. And of course, Dr. Kwame Asa Asante. He is a political scientist and head Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Prof, for joining us this morning. You want to stay with us because sports comes up next. Welcome aboard our big story segment on the AM show. Now we want to take a look at the judiciary because President John Dramani Mahama has begun consultations with the Council of State following the submission of 3 petitions seeking the removal of the Chief Justice, Gertrude Sake Tokono. Now Ben is standing by to give us the details of that statement.
Well, let's quickly get into the details now. And of course, as you can see behind me, President Mahama consults with the Council of State on 3 petitions for the removal of the Chief Justice. And President Mahama has received 3 petitions from various persons seeking the removal of the Chief Justice. Now, the President has forwarded the 3 petitions as per the law to the Council of State to commence the consultation process mandated by Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. And so that's the detail there that we have to add. There's also that statement, of course, that came through from Felix Kwache Ofosu in respect of saying those 3 petitions that have been forwarded to the President, which he had also forwarded to the Council of State. And joining us for a conversation, we have Nana J. Bafo Ewa, his Member of Parliament for Menchia South. He joins the conversation. Good morning, sir. Mr. Bafo Ewa, if you can hear me, a very good morning to you, sir.
I can hear you. Good morning. How are you doing?
Okay, I can hear you very faintly, lawyer. Let's try this again. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Great. I can hear you much better now. Much better now. What is your initial reaction to this development as far as the 3 petitions which the President, per the law, has now forwarded to the Council of State?
Listen, viewers, because I don't know the content of the petition, I'm unable to speak to the petition, whether it is in good faith, whether it is meritorious. I'm not able to say so because it is not been made public yet. In the absence of that, we are then left to speculate. We may then be tempted to sometimes very wild speculations based on utterances, right, that perhaps should be applied and so on and so forth.
You are aware, though, that unlike in previous instances where sometimes you will find the contents of these petitions, like the one by Professor Kweku Azar in respect of another person, again, the CJ, sometimes it gets into the public frame when it really shouldn't. So let's take it from that angle. Technically, it shouldn't be out here for discussion, should it?
Well, in the past, it gets out, but you don't know who gets it out, whether the petitioner themselves put it out there or somebody who came across it, in the course of transmission, also out. But in this instance, it hasn't happened. So unfortunately, we don't know the content.
Okay, so right now, you would say that the right thing is being done.
And so if you say if the right thing is being done, the right thing is being done by who is the question.
I mean, this kind of information, the information will be presented to the petition, will be forwarded to the president. There are many people in that trail, but it ends up on the desk of the president. All I'm saying is, at least now, there's been no person who has leaked this out there, which is a good thing, isn't it?
You can't also say that it's leaked from the president or from the presidency, right? Because it may also well be that the petitioner himself or a person who was sent by it may also leak it, which the presidency wouldn't have control over. And so you can't also say that.
You're perfectly right. You're perfectly right in that instance. But let me ask you, what does the Constitution say? We know that the Constitution has quite a bit that it says about the removal of key personalities, including the Chief Justice. What are some of the grounds on which a Chief Justice could be removed from office?
Article 146 says that the Chief Justice or Justices of the Superior Court may be removed from office for stated misbehavior, incompetence, and infirmity. You know that the Chief Justice is first a judge before being appointed to the position of a Chief Justice, which is an administrative position. But when you look at Article 146, there are separate procedures for removing the Justice of the Superior Court and then the Justice. But when you look at the Justice of the Superior Court, right, it is expected that when a petition is sent to the President will now refer the petition to the Chief Justice, who will establish whether there's a prima facie case. But when it comes to the Chief Justice, it's a silence whether a prima facie case will have to be established. It wasn't until the case of Ejetu versus the Republic, Ejetu versus Attorney General and Akweke, which is a case involving Bright Akweke, a very senior lawyer, and a known sports administrator, where the Supreme Court stated that even in the case of the Chief Justice, there's a need for a prima facie case to be established. And in that instance, or on that case, in that case, it will have to be established by the President in consultation with the Chief Justice. And so that clarity has been brought to bear in respect of the Chief Justice. And therefore, the first step is for the President and the Council of State in consultation to establish whether there's a prima facie case. I suspect that's why the letter said the necessary consultation with the Council of State has started. The communication from the presidency stated that the necessary consultation with the Council of State has started. I suspect it's to determine whether or not there's a prima facie case. Once that is established, according to the Article 146, a committee will have to be constituted 3 other persons who are not lawyers or parliamentarians will be put together to look at the merit or otherwise of the petition. And so that is where we are heading towards.
Right.
Now, all these proceedings, according to Article 1468, are supposed to be in camera. That is why the petition itself is not also supposed to be out, because it's part of the proceedings. The thinking behind it, by the premise of our Constitution, is that given the sensitivity of the position of judges, the kind of work you do, their integrity is very important. Don't forget that to obtain an appointment onto the bench, right, to be appointed to the bench, right, you must have proven integrity. And so that integrity is very essential for the work you do. And so it must not be easily or susceptible to flimsy attack. And so you don't want a situation where it will be made public only for it to fail, right? And then the image of the judge or the reputation of the judge will now be tarnished and be held in doubt.
Right.
We want to avoid all that. And that is why the proceedings are held in camera.
My colleague Sweetie Abachu will come in shortly, but just a quick point. There are very high standards for the removal of people like a Chief Justice or even a judge of the higher courts of adjudication. But in this instance, are you concerned? Because if you add Professor Kwekwaza's, a petition, this becomes the 4th time that there has been a petition, 3 in the current regime and 1 previously, against the Chief Justice. How discomforting is that for you?
You know, it's difficult to remove politics from this. Difficult because nobody in this country can say that they do not or they are not aware of the commentary that has come from the NDC, irrespective of what they think of the judiciary, irrespective of how they think the judiciary has been unfair to them. We cannot discuss this without also looking at comments by President Mahama himself concerning the judiciary. We can list them up in many. And so,
wait, so are you saying you suspect all these petitions are just, the NDC through the back door trying to get the Chief Justice out?
It cannot be far-fetched.
It cannot be far-fetched?
I see. It cannot be far-fetched. It cannot be far-fetched. And so that is why I'm saying it's difficult to remove politics from it. But let me use this opportunity to appeal to the Council of State, which is the advisory committee of the President under the Constitution, that let's be careful not to destroy our democratic gains. It may set us back. It might be a bad precedent. And so if there is a just cause, let's do it. But if there isn't a just cause, let's be careful. Let's tread cautiously. This morning, I'm very concerned. If this happens in the future, someone else might do it, and it will not be good for Ghana.
Mr. Jebafwewa, on the back of this caution that you're sounding to the Council of State, I've heard you say that the President's consultation with the Council of State is a sort of constitutional safeguard, right, to ensure that petitions are not frivolous or politically motivated. And I just want clarity on how much discretion does the President have in determining whether a petition against the Chief Justice should proceed? How much discretion does the President have?
If you look at what the Supreme Court has by itself determined as to the wording, as to the meaning of the word consultation. Consultation is advisorial. But consultation is only an advice, it's only counsel. right? If the president is minded to accept the advice, he takes it. If he's not minded, he rejects it. I keep saying that, you can't compel anybody to take an advice. So in that regard, whatever might transpire between the president and the Council of State, to the extent that no one will know what happened there, the Council of State might never come out to say that we disagreed with the president. And so nobody will know whatever happened there. And so it may well be that the president on his own would hold that he thinks that there's a prima facie case. It may well be, because nobody will know whatever happened there. And it is consultation.
Yeah.
Right? And so to that extent, there's some level of discretion. To that extent, there's some level of discretion.
Well,
and the discretion lies in whether or not, or the choice to take or reject the advice of the Council of State.
Thank you so much.
But even there, before you go, even if the president exercises that discretion, then the processes must follow for the same Supreme Court and some committee to be set up before any processes can follow and before this removal can happen. So even if the president or the presidency or any particular person decided there is a prima facie case, the same justices would have to determine whether or not the Chief Justice had to be removed, right?
So who determines who sits on the committee? It's the Council of State.
But he just said that the Council of State could disagree with the position of the president. If they are constituting it, then you should have more faith, right?
Yes. But if they are constituting it, we may have faith. But you see, it depends. There are so many factors that can come at play, right? And so that is why this morning, for instance, am appealing to the Council of State. We need to appeal to them that we need to tread cautiously. This might break up our democracy. It's going to set us back. It will be a very bad precedent if it doesn't have a just cause that might affect us for a long time to come. It will be like, Benjamin, it will be like the frequency at which we have changed the name of the Jubilee House from Flagstaff House to Jubilee House, dependent on who is in power. Is that what we wanted our judiciary? We have to tread cautiously. If it is without a just and genuine cause, we should tread cautiously.
Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. Nana Eje Bafo Ewua is a lawyer. He is also legislator for Menchia South. He joined us for this end of the conversation in respect of the Chief Justice and a petition or some petitions for her removal.
Well, let's delve right into the second belt of big stories. And we want to look at President John Dramani's swearing in of admin for District Assembly Common Fund. Now, he's tasked him to ensure 80% of the funds are spent on developing the local assemblies. Also, on the back of that, we know that 3 months into the administration, there are no MMDCEs yet. Let's have a conversation on the back of this. Andy Bediako, Mr. Andy Bediako is a local governance expert and former MCE for German South. Mr. Bediako, thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you very much, my sister.
Right. So first of all, we saw that the president had sworn in the admin for District Assembly Common Fund and charging them that they should use 80% of the fund for developing the local assemblies. Your initial reaction to that, and then we'll get into the issue of no MMDCEs yet, although they've been in office for 3 months now.
Thank you very much, my sister. Good morning, and good morning to your viewers. I think constitutionally, the president has done what he's supposed to do, because per law, the president is supposed to nominate somebody to be in charge of the District Assembly's Common Fund, and he must be approved by Parliament. And I think that has been done, and the president has also put in place as in charge of the District Assembly's Common Fund. I would say, I've said it before, that when the budget was read, the 2025 budget was read, the first thing that came to my attention, and that I praise the government, the current government, is about sending 80% of the District Assembly's Common Fund to the assemblies, because most of the assemblies have suffered for quite a long time. The era whereby the Assembly's Common Fund will be determined by somebody sitting in Accra as to what the assembly should use their monies for, I think is uncalled for, and it doesn't help our local or decentralization system. So I applaud the president for charging the District Assembly's Common Fund administrator to make sure the 80% is transferred to the assemblies for development purposes. And I think if we are able to do that, or if the government is able to do that, it depends on the mobilization of the resources, because the law, the constitution says that not less than 5% of the revenue collected within a year should be transferred to the district assemblies per a formula. So if the formula is determined, then we see how much the assemblies will get in terms of the 80%. But I still see some discrepancies. Some assemblies, if you look at for the past 7 years, 8 years, some assemblies will get about 1 million Ghana cedis. Others will get 200,000. Others will even less than the 200,000. I think it is not good. So we should make sure we transfer the money. Especially, I am advocating for assemblies that are perceived to be poor should be getting more resources for development purposes. Because when you look at the formula, always it favors assemblies that are able to generate more revenue locally. The assemblies that have larger internally generated fund normally get more resources from the District Assembly's Common Fund as compared to those that cannot generate. And I think the District Assembly's Common Fund administrator should look at the formula as he will send to Parliament for approval, for them to consider some of these things. And I think some of the assemblies that are unable to generate their internally generated fund are suffering. And if the 80% is transferred to them, I think it's going to help the decentralization.
Ben will come in shortly. I'm just curious, listening to you, were these concerns raised under the erstwhile administration, and what response did you get?
Oh, yeah. You see, it didn't start from the last administration. I must be honest with you. Previously, that has been the norm. When assemblies, you prepare the budget at the assembly level, assembly members will give you approval as to how much you are supposed to get within the year. At the end of the year, you will not get even 40% of your allocation. But your local people are also expecting a lot of things from you. That's why I'm saying if the commitment is there, currently as the president has stated, and they are able to do that, if they're able to do that, it's going to help the assemblies in the long way. But it shouldn't be as usual. We will say it, but we will not transfer it. The whole thing is that when you are in government, as an appointee of the president, sometimes certain things very difficult for you to come out with them. You see, that's why some of us are advocating for the only thing that we can use to make sure our decentralization works properly is the election of women DCs, because MPs are able to talk when issues affect them in Parliament. But if you are an MDC and things are not working as expected, because the president appointed you, he can fire you the next day. Even the minister can recommend that this MC or DC should be fired the next day, and you'll be fired. You are not accountable to the local people, but always accountable to the president, because the president who appointed you. So the best way to have our decentralization work very perfectly for people to know what is going on at the district level is the election of MDCs.
Okay, so now having sort of elaborated on the issues and how it didn't start with the erstwhile administration, it's been there for ages. How feasible then is this directive from the president that 80% of the district assembly common fund should be used for local development? How confident are you that this can actually happen?
Yeah, it is commitment. As I indicated, commitment. The president has told the whole world, all of us, that they are going to make sure 80% is transferred. My dear, you will be sitting at the assembly whereby even cutlasses, fertilizers will be procured from Accra to the assemblies. Some assemblies, you don't even have land over there to be dependent on fertilizers or cutlasses, volunteer booths, football jerseys, football. And somebody will sit in Accra, District Assembly Common Fund Administrator will send some of these things to you. The most annoying aspect, excuse my language, is that when the contractor is giving some of these things, they come and dump them at the regional level. For you as a DC or MC to pick another car to come and pick them to your district level. And it is not helpful at all. Now that because he has been a president before, so he understands some of these things. I've been saying that the president has no excuse to fail us this time around because he has been there before. Now I've been an MC before. Some of the things that I did, when I get the opportunity for the second time, I'm not going to repeat those things that did not help me, to be honest with you. So the president has been there before, and he understands some of these things. And because he's saying that is the commitment that he intends to do, I think we should support him and all of you,
but
especially
Mr. Bediako, it's difficult to measure commitment in the sense of this conversation that we are having, right? And you are a local governance expert. So can you give me maybe 3 key points that, you know, the president and everyone in this sector really should pay attention to so that we can begin to change the narrative instead of just saying that the president directive shows the commitment. The president has directed these people, but as to whether or not they'll do it, it's the same issue that you're talking about because it's been in existence for many, many, many years now. What 3 key things should we prioritize so that this directive can be feasible?
First of all, I think journalists, as you are doing this morning, you should be in a position to help our decentralization because I know currently Joy News, you have taken it upon yourself to see how our decentralization works within the country. So journalists, let us see, because as I said, the law says not less than 5% of the revenue generated within the year should be transferred to the assemblies as the District Assemblies Common Fund. So let us see. Journalists, you can find out within the year how much the government collect, how much the government send to the assemblies, as per what formula did they use, so that we are able to see, because getting to know how much government collected internally within the year will not be a difficult thing to do. Because as I said, if the MNDCs are appointed as we have currently, they find it difficult to come out to, show some of these things in public because you belong to government. And if government is not doing something that is internally, you can meet one-on-one. When you meet the president or even the vice president, you can complain. But if you have somebody who is in charge of the District Assembly's Common, the president will even direct him, do this. But already you sit at the assembly and a contractor will come to the assembly that I've been given this contract to come and drill a borehole, or I've been given from District Assembly's Common Fund. Meanwhile, that is not their job. The job is to send the monies to the assemblies, for the assemblies to go by their budget. So journalists will be in a good position to help us. Then we should also find out how much we are able to collect within the year and how much was transferred to the assemblies based on what percentage and based on what formula did they use. And when we put all these things together, and if we don't have the system whereby contractors will be sent to the assemblies from this assemblies common fund to come and dig boreholes or drill boreholes, or send fertilizers, send cutlasses, send wheelbarrows and all those things to the assemblies, I think that will tell us that most of those things that at the Assemblies Common Fund, part of it is always being distributed from the center has stopped. And I think when we monitor these things, we'll get to know what is happening.
All right. Benjamin.
You've practically said everything. These funds are used to support the district assemblies in providing certain goods and services locally. But with this promise of an 80% allocation and with the delays that have characterized, these submissions or delivery of funds, what exactly are you hoping in the immediate term will change, especially with Mr. Michael Yamson taking over? What are you hoping in the immediate term you will start seeing in the coming weeks and the coming months?
First of all, now the president has to appoint, nominate his MNDCs for their confirmation at the assembly level. I think the president has not breached any law so far, but I think he's delaying. I quite remember 2017 when MPP government came to power, they were nominated somewhere around April. But the way manner, the current local government minister and even ministers of state were appointed at a faster rate, I was thinking by now MNDCs should be in place so that they can kickstart whatever they are supposed to be doing at the local level. You see, the local people looks up to the MNDCs as their president. So we can't continue to leave the assemblies or the local authorities into the hands of technocrats running the assemblies for 3 good months, 4 good months, 5 good months without MNDCs. And I think going forward, I think if somebody did it last year or this year or some years ago and it was not good, I don't think we should continue doing it. What we should be in the position to do that, if we are unable to elect the MNDCs, which I think that is the best way to go, if we are unable to do that, going forward, if there is a change of government, we shouldn't rush in sacking the previous MNDCs. They should be in a place so that when new ones are coming, you even have a cordial relationship and the way how you hand over to the incoming ones so that you see how best you can also take it from there. But the society or the culture that we have currently, immediately president is sworn, then the next day, the first people that they are supposed to be fired is the MNDCs. And we leave the vacancies to the coordinating directors and finance officers in the district, and they are managing the assemblies. Currently, as we speak, some decisions at the assembly cannot be taken by them. Some are political, because the local people, they always see the MNDC. If they are even coming to the assembly to see the MNDC, and they don't get you, if the coordinating director is there, they are not willing to even tell you whatever the reason why they are coming to the assembly to see you. So I think that culture whereby we always sack MNDCs immediately a president is on, for us, we were relieved. The president was sworn in on the 7th January. The 8th January, I was even in Sunyane attending to national issues, and we saw letters that MNDCs, your appointment have been revoked.
Right.
So quickly I have to call my coordinating director for him to come and take the vehicle that I was using in Sunyane. So he sent a driver to my place in Sunyane, and I handed over the vehicle to him. I didn't even step back to the office again. I don't think it's a culture that we should continue. It will not help our decentralization.
Right. Mr. Bediako, you mentioned that the president isn't doing anything wrong. However, it's the delays that you're concerned about. Exactly how is that affecting the business of local governance? You're a local governance expert. So from your perspective, how is the delay in appointing MMDCs affecting local governance? And please be as specific as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. It is creating a lot of tension at the local level. You see, these things are party matters, and people have filed their names. They all have their supporters. I read from my district whereby today you see somebody, oh, this is the person that has been nominated, and the other person, their supporters also say, no, he's not the one, and the tension there is not. Some of the assemblies too, there are a lot of chieftaincy disputes around, and the Nananum or the chiefs will always look up to the political heads, not the technocrats, and all these things culminating at the assembly level is not helpful at all. So I will plead that immediately, as soon as possible, the president, because the law gives that mandate to the president. He's the only person who can nominate, but the approval should come from the assembly members at the assembly level. So the president should, as soon as possible, appoint or nominate these MNDCs so that the assemblies can confer them for business at the local level to thrive.
Right. And Ben, if there are no more questions for Mr. Andy Bediako.
I think that's where we're going to cap it off. Andy Bediako is a local governance expert and a former MC for German South. He joined the conversation. But looking food prices as well. They are soaring in Ghana, leaving both buyers and sellers struggling to keep up, to match their pace. Traders say the rising cost of ingredients is shrinking their profits, while consumers complain they can simply no longer afford basic staples. Well, what's the situation on the ground? Jacqueline Ansumaya has been on the ground. Here are some interactions with people from the market.
Food prices in Ghana keeps going up and up. Today, I'm at Malata Market to engage customers and sellers to find out more as to how these prices, the price increase is affecting selling and buying at the same time. But first of all, I want to get some food stuff for myself and have a fair idea of the prices. Mommy, mepacho makono, what you saying?
5 cities.
5 cities. Inti say you're saying, and I say you say you're saying. Interesting. And now nyadwanin's way 5 anything. Well, just as you can see, so this is 5 Ghana cedis worth of pepper, 5 Ghana cedis. But mommy, food prices over the last few months or her prices saying asifa I change saying
change. But last month It be 700.
The pepper is 5 cedis, while the garden eggs cost 5 cedis or 10 cedis. Food prices have changed drastically. Just last month, a bag of pepper cost 600 to 700 Ghana cedis. But now, just within 3 weeks, the price of green pepper has doubled to 1,400 cedis per bag. Before that, I used to buy it for 700 cedis. The red pepper is even more expensive, now selling for 2,400 cedis per bag. As for garden eggs, a bag now costs between 1,500 to 1,600, and this
near 2004 and 2000 echo price in engine, but mostly 2004. From 2002 to 2004, and a bag.
Talking about Mekono, now some Mekono nina free baby neighbor. I didn't yempe Ghana Yemeko.
Ghana did not start I neighbor. They just 1 week in money, but a young Bruce we a ban market kakra and no cry ban bag near 1,003.
Real quick before I call baby and mate on toast no me person me bisa say because the prices in the cost no one will turn there no who make it profits and also who make it losses.
I say an dear. You say enough the boy woman, I bedroom and bebre say, and Tia ye lost, ye luzupa.
Let me get to where I'll be buying the tomato. And mommy, afternoon, in toast no what's anything? 25. Wait, you saying? 5 cedis. And me pay wait so saying 40 cedis for and when I friend is saying only olonkana konko rather paint rubber no over the last few weeks no prices na cost rana
sisi a hit abanti no ebe kosoro and I usa for no so ba bedi omusala no.
The prices have increased due to the current heat, which is impacting cost, and with Salah approaching, that's also driving prices up. Previously, a bag's cost between 1,600 and 1,700 Ghana cedis, but now it's around 2,000 to 2,200 Ghana cedis. Sometimes, if some are a bit soft, they might lower the price to 1,500 Ghana cedis. But when they are all in good condition, getting a better deal is unlikely.
Ebi wa hwa na boboy wo mo be yiswama. Ebi a 16, 15 the be mo. Na so emu ye de a untimi nya no price a o pe bia ne last price obeja e 20 and 21.
So prices no so you're saying BB to say something like this, how much? 10 cedis. And me who say smaller ones too, how much? 5 Ghana cedis. And also no the prices no in the last 3 weeks, just as you were saying, and this is not prices no.
Sometimes say can say depending for change of money.
Onion prices vary since they come from both Nigeria and Niger. Last week, the prices were relatively stable, and there has been a recent decrease.
And next, be 900, 95, and 1,000. And the price no, esisa. The price no about 4. But last week no, na was Akra. And 2,200 different.
Prices of onion has decreased over the last 1 week now. So the last few days the prices has gone down roughly by 200 Ghana cedis because these ones are coming in from Niger and other countries. But we're still not done. We're hoping to engage more customers in the market to find out how this is affecting them. But once we engage more sellers, probably yam, basic food items that we all get every day, to have a fair idea of how this is panning out in the market. So let's get to the other places where they sell the yam. I finally made it to the yam sellers table right inside the market. And ma, Bayerna Bako, so you're saying?
40 Ghana.
40 Ghana. Bayerna Bako. I didn't hear.
Bayerna Poiden.
Yam prices have become very expensive, especially at Ablobloshi Market. 100 pieces go for 7,000, 6,000 and 5,500 Ghana cedis. Last month, a tuber was 30 Ghana cedis, but now it's 40 Ghana cedis. Farmers say they had poor yield this season. With little rainfall, supply has become very scarce. Prices increase almost every week. Sometimes 100 pieces even sell for 8,000 Ghana cedis. Different types of yam, including yaminti, puna, asana, and araba. A bag of puna can cost between 6,000 to 7,000 Ghana cedis, while a big tuber of puna yam goes for 50 Ghana cedis each. Customers keep complaining about the high prices, but there is nothing we can do. We are also making losses.
If you wish prices, yeah, because you as someone out on Wadiano, Usha, a wow, a maunia more profit and a maunia loss. Oh, Melusu, Visa Kotoba, Nebisia Pro. Baby, Neta Pro, a Kofa Baba Penapronti, Debia, a quiet sick and a tussle. Debia, this is a competitive for the streamers and the Akova floor. To buy the wording. Interesting. Well, that's the yam seller. And just as she said, one yam inside the market, this yam costs 40 Ghana cedis. The popular yam in the market is puna. That one, a tuber, is 50 Ghana cedis. Usually, the full sack, if you get 100 pieces, some of them cost 6,000, 5,000, 6,500 and above right inside these markets. But then let me find some of the customers in the market to engage them on how these high prices is affecting them. Met a food creator. Are you a food creator?
I'm doing everything, so.
All right, so he's a creative or a creator on YouTube, and he's in the market. Coincidentally, we met here. And the prices, what did you come to market to buy today?
Okay, so this is my second time. Like today, I've done market rounds, but this is the second time. And this is my go-to market, Malamata Market. This morning, I went to CMB. I came to get like protein. Tomorrow, I'm doing Ramadan giveaway for our Muslim brothers and sisters. So I'm here to get some proteins, and I might say the prices in market now is outrageous. It's like everything is on there. Everything has increased. Like today, if you buy something at 10 cedis, the next day you come and it's 20 cedis. Could you believe I bought yam? I heard you said 50 cedis. Yeah. Puna is now 45 cedis in CMB, and Malata Market is like 50 cedis. You get everything is outrageous. Like yesterday, some time ago, I bought egg at 50 cedis. I went the next day 70 cedis, and a lot of things are now overpriced, like extremely expensive. Cost of living in right now, it's very bad.
So what do you think are some of the alternatives that could be done to help reduce the food cost in the markets?
I think if more of these crops are grown in Ghana, I don't know if most of them are grown here in Ghana.
Asking the pepper seller, she said that the pepper, everything comes, it's not being done here. Yeah. But then she said we do get pepper from Ghana.
We do get, but
onion is actually being imported out from.
A lot of like the basic things that are needed for in the kitchen for cooking are not even gotten in the country, so it makes everything expensive. So if like the Ministry of Agriculture or whatever the government is doing, if they should make sure that most of the things we consume are Ghana-made products.
What did you buy?
Plantain, ripe plantain.
Ripe plantain. But usually when you come to the market, often what do you get?
Maybe plantain and cassava.
Okay, so last month, how much were you buying plantain?
10 cedis. When you buy 10 cedis, they'll give you, but now they're 20 cedis.
So 10 cedis, how many? You can't get plantain for 10 cedis now?
No.
Really?
Yes.
So unless you buy 20 Ghana cedis?
Yes, maybe 4. They'll give you 4.
4 for
20 cedis.
Interesting. And apart from that, is this affecting your purchase habits? Usually, considering the number of things that you come to the market to buy, has it decreased in any way?
Yeah. You have to add money to it so that you can get plenty. I was even asking the woman to just give me plenty. She was like, no. Maybe unless I buy 20 cedis before I'll get plenty.
But from food sellers to consumers and buyers, one thing looks clear. the price of food is squeezing the pockets of Ghanaians. Speaking to the food creator earlier, he shared with us that even at inside Accra, that's a bigger market where most of the women right here in the market will go for the items. The price is also high there. But the big question remains, what is the way forward for this? Some of them believe that it's seasonal. Some of them have been talking about transport. Some of them have been talking about the fact that some of these products could be done right here in Ghana and it would help benefit the people. Reporting from Malata Market, I'm Jacqueline Ansuma Yaboa.
So why are prices escalating? What is happening? What can we do about it? Joining us for a conversation, the people who are on the ground, who know all about farming and the intricacies of it. Anthony Morrison is CEO, Chamber of Agribusiness, Ghana. Enyonam Manye is the Ghanaian farmer. She joins the conversation together with Bismarck Norte, Executive Director, Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. Sweetie?
I don't know the last time any of you went to the market, but whatever you were able to buy with, let's say, 1,000 Ghana cedis, today you need about double of that to purchase the same food items. And since you're on the ground, Senyona, I want to start with you. Colorful shirt, by the way.
Thank you very much.
What's happening out there in the markets?
Good morning to your viewers. So when it comes to food prices rising, a lot of factors contribute to that. And king of them, I would say, the inconsistent weather patterns that farmers are experiencing, or climate change.
Right.
Gone were the days that our parents are able to predict and they get it right. That, okay, this is the time we start plowing. This is the time we go into, sowing, and it continues in that order. But in this day and age, or in this modern trends, with climate change around, the weather, you even predict and you fail. So farmers, as we speak, the last time I checked, it's around Suhum and Asamankesi enclave that have started planting their maize, because for them in the Koforidia area, the rains are coming continuously. But my people in the water and central belt and, for the north, they've not started at all. So the inconsistent weather pattern is one. And of course, as we speak, the agro inputs, farmers still are talking and complaining about the high prices of agro inputs, such as seeds, the fertilizer, well, thanks to government that is giving us some subsidized fertilizers in the system, some NPK and then urea. But beyond that, there are a lot more that farmers would need to do the production. Tractor owners who are renting their tractors, the prices keep, going up every season. If this season you plow 1 acre for 400 cedis, it's likely the next season it goes up. So these things, coupled with other factors, are the reason why you can see that the food prices are going high. I drove through Kasua recently, the onion market, to find out about the onion they have presently in the market and where they are getting it from. It's from Nigeria and Niger. So what are you expecting? If you go there and they pay high cost transportation, definitely it would go to the final consumer. So that's what we are seeing on ground.
Just a quick follow-up. When it comes to onions, for example, we know that we get a lot of them from other countries. What is local production? About what percentage are we able to meet in Ghana?
Per what the people who buy are telling me, we don't even produce a quarter of what they need.
That's not even up to 25%?
No.
Not up to 20%?
Yes, we don't get, because onion has a certain temperature under which you can grow it. And so it's not all the regions that you can grow. Somewhere in the eastern area, around the Brie area thereabout, there are some foreigners who are trying their hands on onion, but the weather is too cold, according to them. So it's not too conducive. And that's why we always get it from the northern part. And then there are down enclave, the Sege area there, they also do a bit of onion. But the volume that we need and the lack of irrigation, coupled with a few other, bottlenecks, are the reason we are not meeting the, volume that people need to sell. So at the end of the day, they fall on our neighbors to get it into the country. And then the prices will definitely soar. Yeah.
Interesting perspective there. But Anthony, you're CEO of Chamber of Agribusiness. Can we really blame the hike in food prices on agribusiness? Not your chamber, but, the business of agriculture. Can we blame it all on agribusiness?
I'm sure you plugged this question. I didn't plug this one with
Well, thank you very much, and very good morning to Benjamin and your good self and the viewers out there, and my sister here. The issue we are facing in the country with regards to the current food prices is as a result of the challenges we are having with the demand and supply. We are currently having a short production rate as against the consistent demand that we have. And if you look at that, we are looking at the vegetables, we are also looking at the grains and cereals. But that of the vegetables, the household income have increased now. If you look at it, agriculture doesn't take just a day or two. You need to plow. Sometimes you're talking about tomatoes and other vegetables, it takes you about 3 months, okay? So 90 days, some can take you 120, okra and cabbage and thereof. Now, if you remember last season, we had the issue of drought. We were supposed to undertake some mitigation solutions. The then minister, who has some support from the World Bank, about $120 million, that were supposed to have been used for the drought mitigations, instead of buying them the irrigation materials, okay, drilling some of the boreholes and making sure that some existing wells are well drilled so that they can have water during the dry season, decided to buy rice and maize and share to farmers across the country. And so the whole of last year, we were not actually intentional about food production. We were looking at intervention mechanisms. And I think this is some of the spillover that is affecting us now. Let me also emphasize that when it comes to the drought season, the ground becomes so hard. For instance, I saw ginger being mentioned. Currently, there are no ginger because the ground is so hard. If you try to harvest, you lose everything because, and now that they have also stayed in the ground for so long, they have overgrown and they will not be ideal for home use. They can only be ideal for either pharmaceutical or factory uses. So we are going to see the demand going up and prices. But let me touch a little bit on the onion my sister made mention of. Onion is the Lamborghini of all vegetables in the country or in the world. Several people consume more onion and it's very expensive. But at the same time, in the case of Ghana, we do onion, just as she said. Let me elaborate a little bit. If you go to Akumadan area, the Volta region, the north, but it is very laborious. Unlike the way you enjoy to pluck your tomatoes or your pepper or garden egg, for onion, it's about a waste issue. You need to be able to bend and move. If you look at the way the Indians plant, and because of the way they do their land preparation, they are able to have it in an easy way. What we need to be looking at to resolve our onion importation bill, which currently stands around $800 million a year, we should be able to support our farmers with simple production, onion production tools that can get them to transplant and also to harvest their onion and also do the sorting.
That's a good point. I want to run by the Executive Director, Peasants Farmers Association of Ghana. He joins us via Zoom, Bismarck Note. Good morning, Bismarck. Thank you for joining the conversation. Anthony was just talking about how we are still using waste issues to harvest and plant and all that. And it's, in a way, contributing to the hike in food prices that we are seeing. What is your initial reaction to everything we've said at this point in the conversation?
Yeah, good morning to you and good morning to Anthony and my sister in studio and to the listeners. Yeah, I have listened to my panelists and I couldn't agree more with them regarding the factors that are accounting for the soaring food prices. Based on the work that we've done and on our interaction with our members, we have categorized them into 4 main factors that are accounting for the rising food costs. And if we are not able to do much as a country to address these factors, this scenario might continue. I must also admit that these are seasonal because if you observe, normally around this time, from January to probably April or May, it's normally the beginning of the planting season. So ideally, you have much less food in the market. However, the challenge has been the rate at which the prices are soaring up, and that's where the issues are. Now, if you look at the factors I mentioned, the first one has to do with the high cost of production, which my sister spoke about. The fact that the cost of inputs, the cost of seed, the cost of fertilizer, the cost of agrochemicals has gone up. The fact that the cost of agricultural services has gone up astronomically. So this is also impacting on farmers. The second point is that there is also a land squeeze, meaning that lands available for farming are getting limited by the day. The issue of illegal mining comes into being. The issue of resource mining across the country comes into being. The issue of we converting a lot of our lands into concrete comes into being. So now there's limited land for farming. So that's also accounting for the limited land space that farmers have to use to do their farming. The third point has to do with the issue of irrigation, which my sister, climate change, which my sister spoke about. The fact that we are having very unpredictable and inconsistent weather patterns. And if you listen to the GMET, the forecasts are that this situation might prolong. In fact, early this year, they had a stakeholder engagement. And if you observe the forecast they presented for the year, it appears that we are still going to experience some extended dry spells across the country. So if we do not find solutions to this particular challenge, then we're in trouble.
Right.
And the last point that I want to make, the last factor I want to talk about is the issue of harvest and post-harvest, which we've not done so much as a country. So that during the main period, the main season where we harvest so much, because there is no mechanism to store, there is no mechanism to transport. Our transport systems are weak, they are poor, the roads are terrible, a lot of the foods go waste in the system. So the little that comes to the market, the traders will have to up the prices to make up for the losses that they incurred along the road. So for me, these are the four main factors that are influencing the food soil that you're experiencing. And I'm confident that the government will be able to put in place measures to address these challenges.
Just on that same point, I mean, if you go back to the Nkrumah era, there were thoughts and even some implementation on silos. Whatever happened to that? Do we as a country really need to start focusing on such storage facilities in key areas? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that discussion has come a lot. I remember even last year, the former Minister of Food and Agric launched an initiative to construct a huge silo in the Eastern region. I don't even know how far that particular intervention has gone. But I think that if you observe the kind of post-harvest rate that we record in the country, especially with vegetables, if you even look at the grains and cereals, then it brings a lot of discussion regarding how well we are able to store food during the bumper season. We know the role of the National Foodstuff Company, that's NAFCO, and their role to mop up the excess food that farmers are producing. But they are also incapacitated. So the issue is even if you put up a lot of silos, but you don't have a system where the state is able to buy the food from the farmers at competitive prices, then the silos might not serve any purpose. So putting the silos is one thing, but putting a system in place to ensure that, one, the state is able to buy the food from the farmers at very good prices. Two, the transport systems are fixed to the extent that when you are transporting the food from the farm gate to the location of these silos, you do not have delays on the road. The roads do not ensure that the food crops delay on the road and get spots. And the fact that there's enough production. So I think that having silos is one thing, but there are other factors that you should consider to ensure that you have a win-win. Because even as I speak to you, you know the previous government embarked on the one district, one warehouse. As I speak to you, a lot of the warehouses are just in the bush, serving no purpose. They become breeding grounds for snakes and reptiles because we didn't put in place a very comprehensive system to ensure that having the warehousing also comes with other services. So the idea of the silos are good, but I think it is not sufficient. We have to put in place a whole sophisticated and holistic system to ensure that we address the issues of post-harvest losses.
All right. Coming into the studio, of course, I know you would want to have a bite at that. It must be a composite effort. It can't just be silos in seclusion, right? But we have a lot of gluts, which means that it stands to reason if you are losing so much in terms of tomatoes, for example, local production, if you have silos, storage systems, so that there's no glut, farmers don't end up losing and creating also some food insecurity and insufficiency. It can be. But my substantive question to you, even as you address the silos, what then, because it's demand and supply.
Yeah.
Once the season is out, it's like avocados. Once the season is gone, and then you see the prices escalate from maybe 7 cedis to 20 cedis and the rest. What foodstuffs should we be focusing on, knowing our consumption, local staples, should we be focusing on so that all year round we can at least guarantee to some level some food sufficiency? What should we be looking at? And I'm starting with you.
You see, when it comes to food consumption, the thing that feature in our food preparation, it's the whole year round. There is nothing like, staples. Okay, yes, there's nothing like I need tomato this month and next month I wouldn't be needing tomatoes.
Exactly.
I am rather looking at, in terms of the food loss or food waste, I'm looking at the quality of food we produce. Okay? Beyond having a storage facility to maybe mop up the excess, like Bismarck mentioned, mop up the excess that would be left to store and let it into the market when it's needed. How about the quality? In recent times, when you go to the farming community or when you even go to markets to buy these vegetables, in about 2-3 days, it's all getting rotting. This is in your house that you are keeping. They tell you keep it in the fridge, and still, you buy from the local market, you keep it in the fridge. In some few days, you bring it out, and it's
what's accounting for that? Use of fertilizers, poor farming methods.
Exactly. So I am hoping that Honorable Eric Opoku would employ more extension agents.
Okay.
To release them into the field to help our farmers about the better way of going about production. Because right now we are already battling it out with galamsey. Our land and water that is being used to produce is contaminated. So that alone has a problem on the quality of food that is being produced. Not to talk about taking it to the warehouse to store until it's needed and then released back into the market. Then, of course, let's also look more into the area of value addition. Burkina Faso is now adding value to tomatoes. What are we doing in Ghana? We have some factories in Bono, and what happened to them? Even northern area, we used to.
We are taking value. They add, we buy.
Is that what we are going to be forever? Is that what we are going to be forever? Because honestly, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
We keep talking about this thing every year. It's like, we are always going around the circle. Can we make progress?
Can we make progress?
Yes, we can make progress. For instance, we have to increase our current production of tomatoes by some margin of 60%. Because because Burkina Faso is now even processing the grade 3 or the grade C of their tomatoes. Don't forget, we bring.
What does that mean?
We grade tomatoes.
Yes, but what is a grade C? What?
So the grade C. So the first grade, which is a beef tomato variety that we bring in, has a little water content and thicker flesh, and also a thicker inside flesh. Now, what
it's like for salad.
So we have the cherry tomatoes. We also have the cherry tomatoes, which is for salad. The small ones that they cut for the salad. Now, what the grade 2 are quite smaller. So on the shelf, you may see some of these like 12 or 6. The ones that go like 4, you see they have the same price as the one with the 6 or the 12,
right?
Because of the size and the meatier and the quality. Exactly. So we may have to increase our tomato production. What we are having now is more of the sub-regional insecurity issue is also affecting food trade or agriculture trade.
you realize
Sahelian countries,
of course,
are mired in.
Yeah.
So it's also affected us.
Exactly. Our trucks are not able to go there and bring in food and all that. We also have to be mindful about the silo thing. There is a World Bank report by IFC which was done partly also by the chamber. It's clear that government have no business investing in silos and warehouses. It's now an area of the private sector. What we should rather do is to provide the private sector with the enabling environment for them to go into post-harvest technology like the silos and warehouse and have a social good for the country. So for instance, you have a warehouse capacity of 60,000. You keep, let's say, 5,000. So assuming you have 100, each of them is keeping 5,000 for government. Government really doesn't keep huge stock. Look at buffer stock. Look at Ghana Commodity Exchange. How much of grains and cereals do they have than to be spending $20 million, $200 million on setting up warehouses and silos when we do not even have the technology and the expertise to even manage and maintain them properly? So we don't need, as a country, for government to start investing in warehouses and silos. We have several of them. What we need to do is to give it to the private sector. It's the private sector that does commodity business. Government doesn't do commodity business. So that they hold some stock in trust for government. So anytime government needs it, they release it. But the cost of the maintenance and all that is on the private sector. So it doesn't put additional costs on us. Then also, Benjamin, one other major issue that is affecting food prices is the speculative activities of the traders. Okay? We know people hoard. We know people speculate that, there are no tomatoes or there are no ginger, there are no onions. When they know that they have kept 200 bags, 500 bags in their warehouses, and you see the prices jump.
Trying to make
exactly.
But then you are wading into price regulation, and of course,
but this is where we need the national security to bring in their human intervention. Okay. So, for instance, if you look at buffer stock, the setup, NADMO, the setup, and national security, in times like this, if they were having stock, they can then plant people in the marketplaces and give them this stock to sell at a regulated price. And you see that the others who are selling higher will align to the new person. But as it stands, yes, the post-harvest technologies are not there. We do not have the cold chain systems to host the vegetables. And at the same time, we are losing a lot when it comes to grains. In fact, I think in your video, you haven't shown that of the grain because you remember I said Brian imported some rice. A lot of factories right now have a lot of local rice, but we don't have people buying. So we may have to also look at the cost of local rice on the market compared to the imported ones. So we do the calculation and understand where we are going to. But Benjamin,
final point.
Yes, we need to be deliberate. My sister made mention of the fact that, you also said fertilizers and chemicals. Let me say that the only way out is to go the Indian way. We need to declare each district in Ghana organic state or organic district. Okay? Your health is your life. We need to make sure that at the same time we want to feed masses, we are taking care of our health. Declare each district in every region organic district, and you see the investment and the value of organic food production in this country. It will change the narrative. Everybody will begin to look at organic food. We will all be looking at, okay, I want a food that has been less chemical, less fertilizer has been used in the production. And that will change the narrative. Because we have a lot of depositories, raw materials that can be used to produce organic fertilizers, organic insecticides, organic weedicides.
Okay, just a quick point, Sweetie. So it's interesting, right? I guess we also have to cultivate a taste. It's a taste thing. Yeah. So would you do local rice instead of jasmine rice, basmati? What I say?
But we have the local rice that are also jasmine.
No, I get it, but I'm saying it's a taste thing. You get it. People prefer the foreign
Jasmine. Benjamin, you are 40 years. When did you start eating foreign rice?
Who said I was 40?
You are 40 plus. When did you start eating local rice? Foreign rice.
There's something interesting that Bismarck said that it stuck on me, so I went to search for it.
Yeah.
It turns out he mentioned land squeeze. Are we losing arable land? I'm seeing the data here, the latest of 2021, and you see a steady decline. Let me start from 2016, where we had
which item is this that
arable land? Right. Ghana's the percentage of land that we have that's arable land. And from 2017, let me start from there. We had 5,565,130, right? And it goes up to 2019, where we have 4,661,644, and then all the way up to 2021, and then we have 4,708,900 hectares of land. What's happening? Are we losing arable land?
What you should be worried about is the loss of irrigable land. Because we used to have about 2.3 million irrigable lands, but due to the galamsey issues
in hectares,
we have lost more than 60%. In fact, just recently I was told that some of the reserves also have been encroached in. And the irrigable lands are the lands closer to the river bodies that are also able to...
So they naturally benefit from...
Exactly. So those are the challenges, because in times like this, it's those lands that we need to cultivate to mitigate the increase in food prices.
And those buffers are now, most of them are gone. Even our forest cover,
Yeah, I think with the land issue, we need to have a dialogue with the custodians of lands. The chiefs, the family, exactly. They are the custodians. And so where my land is, for instance, Ayenswano, if it's not sand winning, they can cut down the maize, the cassavas, and win sand. And so the farmer is out of business. You've been sacked because the sand winning guys pay higher than you, who is an ordinary farmer. So sand winning is number one, and then number two is the illegal mining thing. And so we need to have a dialogue with the custodians of land to see how they know where it's reserved for farming and where it's reserved for other activities. And then wrapping up, I think that if we are going to bridge the gap, and then this issue of food prices going up would come down, then it means that we have to take a look at our irrigation system. Honorable Ropoku met regional ministers recently, and I am yet to get update on what they are doing so far. But we hope that it's not just talk, but they are walking the talk. We want to see updates on that. And with adequate water, quality water, using to produce food, of course, we would have made some progress coming year or subsequently.
All right, just something I want to run by you and Bismarck very quickly. Two things, what you just said. Morrison said we need maybe a district approach, district level approach. And then he also said that we need to go organic and all of that, which is very good, but organic is also more expensive. How do you deal with that?
No.
In Ghana, organic is pretty expensive.
It's actually the most cheapest.
The organic market I know in Accra, I don't want to mention specifics.
No, the production
they charge you more.
No, yes, because it's a niche product.
And so I think
I'm giving you if we do it on the national level, it's going to drive costs down?
Yes.
I think it boils down to the consumer. And also it boils down to the producers to market these organic things well. Let me know the value.
So explain this to me. If they use fertilizers and all of that, it's the easier approach, right? So
it's faster.
Cost intensive for them. They can sell it.
When we were doing the cost build-up, production costs, volatility in the exchange rate, we import the seeds. Let me add that 99% of all vegetable seeds we use are all imported.
Let
me also add that because the foreign exchange and fertilizers are imported, these are chemical-based fertilizers. The weedicides are imported, the insecticides are all imported. Even the machines we use for irrigation, they are all imported. There are forex that are on them. So they increase the cost of production.
We are wrapping the conversation.
So what I'm saying is, with the organic thing, all right, it's patience. If you're a farmer, you want to go organic, it means you need to have patience. It takes time to grow an organic food versus someone who is using conventional method of growing food. And the consumers themselves must agree to pay for value. Because if
so you are saying that, yes, even if it's a bit more expensive.
Yes, I'm willing to pay, so long as it's healthy.
Let me go to Bismarck. Bismarck, what is your take on all of this? Organic, let's go nationally organic. At what cost, Bismarck?
No, I think that the discussion around organic has been there for a long time, and we have been strong advocates for organic farming. The challenge, as the initial challenge as mentioned by my female colleague, has to do with the initial costs. So normally when you start, because you would want to have more of the organic matter, want to use more of the compost, you are avoiding the use of chemical fertilizer, which is faster. Initially you will spend more, but in the long run, what you are doing is that you are helping your soil. You are increasing your soil fertility in the long run. You are reducing eventually your costs with regards to synthetic fertilizer goes down. It gets to a point where even the vagaries of the weather doesn't have a huge impact on your soil because your soil has been much fertilized if you go organic. The discussion has to do with also our tastes as a country, where we have to find a way to instill the organic and local taste for our people to ensure that once farmers are going strictly into organic, a lot of the consumers will be ready and able to pay for the cost of organic. Now, let me wrap up. I know you're wrapping up, and then let me suggest some key things that should be done. I think that in the short term, the government must be focused heavily on ensuring that cost of production has gone down. And there are several ways that the government can do that. We know one, the budget is very heavy on the provision of subsidized seeds for the government flagship programs. That's the vegetable program and then the grain development program. And we know they are procuring and distributing seeds. So that will find a way to reduce the impact of the high seed prices on farmers. However, that might not be enough for all farmers across the country. So what we are even advocating for is that one of the key reasons why we are spending so much on this seed and fertilizer is because we import most of them to the country. In the long run, we expect to put up our own factories to be able to establish or develop our own fertilizer, both organic and synthetic. We have a lot of local seed companies in the country that we want their capacity enhanced so they can produce for the market. But in the short term, the tax exemptions that doesn't include agricultural inputs is making the cost of these inputs very expensive. So in the meantime, government can find a way to review the Tax Exemptions Act, include agricultural inputs and equipment, and ensure that the prices are reduced so that the cost of production reduces for the farmer.
And that's Bismarck not say. Bismarck, unfortunately, our time is up. I want to give 10 seconds each to Enyonam, and because
Solomon Kwejo online, he says, please, organic farming is not cheap.
Enyonam, 10 seconds, please. We have to go. Final words.
My final word is that as a country, we've come a long way, 60 plus years. We shouldn't be having this conversation. Agriculture creates no jobs. It creates a lot of income for the economy. Let's work on, like he said, inputs that come, machinery that comes. If there's a way we can give some subsidy on the taxes so that the input alone farmers' paychecks can go down, it would also go a long way.
Thank you. Anthony, you have the last word.
Well, I think that we need to look at the local content. It's not everything we need to be doing now, importing everything. What do we have in Ghana that can, expedite our food security and make sure that we are achieving the agriculture for economic transformation? And also, I'm happy within the government budget, they have made budget for vegetable production and also the irrigation for wealth. But what I want to say finally is that we need to support the production of vegetables in the urban areas. We have lost all the urban farming system to real estate and other things.
That's an important point.
And you see, the vegetable prices are not going up in the villages, but they're actually going up here in the cities. If we were doing the urban farming, they would have come in at this point to mitigate the cost. But now we don't have them.
Thank you, Anthony Morrison. And what that tells me as well, I remember growing up, a lot of the time, my family had backyard gardens and stuff like that. Another thing, why, I mean, people grow tubers. They harvest plantain. I don't want to mention. I know people.
Anthony Morrison is CEO, Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, and Yona Manye is the Ghanaian farmer, like she calls herself, and Bismarck Norte is Executive Director, Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. And this is us taking a look at hiking food prices. Do stay. There are a lot more coming your way, more conversations coming your way on the AM show. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's the AM show still, and it's time now for us to engage Mr. Ebenezer Korte, Esquire, lawyer by profession, and the Executive Director, or should I say CEO, of Microcredit Association of Ghana. And I know, and I mentioned this morning, that this week in particular, when you hear microcredit, your mind goes back to a party over the weekend, but that's not what we're talking about. Mr. Korte, welcome to the program.
Thank you, sweetie.
That's not what we're talking about, is it?
Exactly so.
Is that what we're talking about?
No.
Okay. So what's the difference between microfinance and microcredit, and exactly what role do they play in the banking sector, banking and finance sector?
Thank you, sweetie. Good morning to you. Good morning to our viewers. And good morning to our member institutions. I mean, the microcredit and by extension, the microfinance institutions.
Okay.
I salute all of them. For the role that they are playing in the space. Microfinance basically looks at the provision of financial services to the productive poor. Now we are also roping in MSMEs.
Okay.
We are looking at the excluded. We are looking at the unbanked. Microfinance stands on two legs, basically. So we have microsave. In our context, we are looking at SUSU and microcredits, providing credit loans to people. So when you talk about microfinance, two things come to mind: microsave, deposit taking, and loans. But specifically, when you look at microcredit, then solely you are focusing on credit or loans.
Okay. You know, there's an influx of mobile money. By mobile money, I don't mean just one network. All the networks really have mobile money systems. Does it take anything away from your business as microfinance and microcredit?
It doesn't. It doesn't. It enhances what we do.
Okay.
Yes. I think we have a number of telephony companies doing a lot in the space by way of mobile money. I think they are also doing some form of credit. Digital lending is coming up strongly. I will talk about it because we have quite a number of them who don't have license to do the business of digital and online lending. I know the Bank of Ghana is working on that, putting something together in that direction.
So let's talk about that. The relationship between the bank and what you do. Is there a need for a more regulated environment for you to operate in?
Yes, we have a partnership with the Bank of Ghana.
Okay.
In fact, we serve as agents for the bank. We basically provide delegated services in the area of license facilitation for those who want to go into the business of microcredit.
Okay.
We do supervision on behalf of the bank. We also do surveillance for the bank. You know, we have quite a number of operators in the space who don't have license. Sweetie, let me say that this is a regulated business. Before you can go into the business of microcredit, you need a license, and a license from the Bank of Ghana. That is one.
Yeah.
Even for the social operators, those that you see in the market,
door to door and
yes, they
collect money.
also need a license from the Bank of Ghana.
That's why you mentioned that most people are doing this without the license. And how is the Bank of Ghana clamping down on these?
Bank of Ghana is doing a lot in the space, and of course we are doing it in collaboration with them to clamp down on those who are doing the business without license. So the partnership has been good over the years. We are in our 10th year. With the support of GIZ, we have also been out there doing financial literacy and education to sensitize the public, even for those who we think should know better, fall prey to some of these institutions.
Right.
So let me also use this platform to say that yes, it may be your own money you want to lend, you need a license. If you are taking deposit from the public, it's also important that you get a license also to take deposit from the public. You cannot say that, okay, I've gone to, for instance, the Registrar General Department, I've gotten my business registered, and for that matter, I can go into the business of microcredit or Susu Microsave or operate generally as a microfinance institution. No. If the assembly gives you permit, that doesn't allow you to go into the business of either Susu or microcredit. This is banking business, and basically lending is banking business, deposit taking is also banking business. So you will need a license from the regulator.
What I'm hearing is that the Bank of Ghana, or should I say government, actually does pay attention to the microcredits, microfinance industry or sector.
Yes.
But is there a need for some sort of policy framework to properly regulate or structure? Because like you're saying, they're now doing some work to clamp down on those who are operating without licenses. And I'm sure there are some gaps in there that don't augur well for the whole association. What should the government focus on in terms of maybe developing a policy framework? If there's one already, you can also tell us that.
We don't have one yet.
We don't have one?
Sweetie, it's interesting. A lot of countries come to Ghana to learn from us. Kenya, for instance, has done so well in the credit union space. In fact, when you talk about the biggest credit unions in Africa, you find them in Kenya. We also need to carve a certain niche for ourselves. My view is that it's important we pay attention to microcredit and by extension, microfinance if we really want to develop the MSME sector. The earlier conversation that you had with Morrison and team, definitely there is a certain missing link. It's about finance. If we want to support our peasant farmers, this is exactly what we should be looking at.
Some of them are unbanked, which is where you come in.
Yes. Yeah. And we are doing our bits. We will need support. What we need now is a policy for the sector. Okay. We need a microfinance policy. Something was started last year with the support of GIZ. Okay. There has been change in government, we all know. I am aware that the new government is also looking at it. Okay. We are praying that things go as expected, so it goes to cabinet for cabinet to look at it, so we can have a policy for the sector. You know, quite a lot has been done, Maslock and all of that. For me, I think we need to take a second look at Maslock. What, for instance, the Ugandans have done is to use the microfinance institutions to get to the MSMEs. So as we say, they are using one stone to kill two birds. And this is exactly what we can be looking at. We give them funds for on-lending to MSME. I don't want to talk about the private sector. Let's focus on MSME. I think, was it last week or earlier this week, as part of Joy Business, you spoke about, there was this documentary on students on campus who are doing something for them. It is about credit and the support that we can give to these individuals and institutions to grow their businesses. For instance,
not just the economy as well. Because,
sorry?
I mean, whilst you're helping these businesses, you're helping the economy.
Exactly. So we are creating employment. Of course, we are also contributing to GDP and all of that. So there are a lot that we are doing in the space. I think that I am a product of microfinance. And for me, the future is microcredit. And of course, by extension, microfinance. When COVID struck, a lot of banks were not lending. Our institutions had to step in. Our institutions dared to lend to these small businesses. And for me, I think that this is exactly what saved our country. And, sweetie, let us not forget. How many banks do we have in Ghana? And how many of them are locally owned? And there is also an issue. the fact that when they make so much, they take them back to their home country.
I want to
microfinance, microcredit is what I believe will grow our economy.
Okay.
And I think we need to pay attention to it.
Okay. And I want to stay on the lack of a policy framework and ask, how do you manage or deal with situations of loan defaults, rising non-performing loans, and the need for responsible borrowing? I mean, the possibility of making willful defaults an offense under the laws. How do you deal with that? How does the government deal with that when there's no policy framework?
Thank you.
And these are issues that plague the microfinance, microcredit sector.
They hinge on our businesses. They could adversely affect our institutions. So the Bank of Ghana report over the years has talked about rising non-performing loans. It's a concern even in the banking space. Yes, we agree. In 2019, we started a campaign on responsible borrowing, and we christened it Wujiatia, the Kohi pay in Ghana. So
how do you say pay?
My Ghana is not too good. So in 2009, we started this campaign. It has been a concern in the banking sector. Employment is affected. Livelihoods are affected. For me, it affects this whole thing about financial inclusion. Kofi Annan of blessed memory said something, that this is an idea that has come to stay. He was talking about microfinance. I think it is about time we took steps to address this issue about loan default. What I have advocated on various platforms is that let's look at criminalizing willful loan default. Willful loan default. And my position is this, sweetie, that the intention is not to flood our prisons with loan defaulters, no. But the thought behind it, the fact that somebody will get to know that when you default, you can...
The law will deal with you.
Exactly, you can be put behind bars. Brazenly, we have defaulters who will talk about the fact that, look, take me to court, because they know that it's a civil matter. They cannot be put behind bars. There are steps that we need to take to address this issue about rising loan default. Otherwise, one day, there wouldn't be businesses to run.
Right. How do you reconcile the digital age? We are in the fourth industrial revolution, and everything is happening online now. Lending, approval requirements, and all that. How do you reconcile? Because most of your work, or a big chunk of your work, involves going to these people coming to you in the markets and all that. How do you reconcile this age of digital evolution with what you do?
Thank you. I will go back to our East African neighbors. They have taken some steps already. Basically, we do brick and mortar.
Yeah.
But for their microcredit institutions, the lending-only institutions, they are driven by technology.
Right.
Yes. I am aware that the Bank of Ghana is trying to put something together in the area of digital finance. For now, FIDO in our space, in the microcredit space, it is the only institution that has been approved to do, for instance, digital and online lending. So I think it's also a caution to the public.
Okay.
A number of our people go online to access loans from unapproved money lenders. They have not been granted license, apart from FIDO in the microcredit space. So I think it's important we pay attention to that. And I think it's also important to mention that, they get access to your personal information and create all kinds of problems for you. So I think that should be education to the public, that they need to be careful to deal with licensing institutions, because a lot of issues are coming up. So as I mentioned earlier, the regulator has taken this up. I'm aware that they are trying to put something together in the area of digital finance and, of course, by extension, digital lending. But if you qualify, I know the approval will be given for you to do online and digital lending.
Okay.
Yes.
So is it safe to say that every company operating a microfinance, microcredit belongs to the Microcredit Association of Ghana?
Thank you, sweetie. So in the microfinance space are various players. And it has also been put into tiers by the regulator. So we have tier 1s comprising savings and loans, finance houses, rural banks. We have tier 2s, microfinance companies. They use the name microfinance. So you may think that they are the only microfinance players in the space. Then the tier 2s are the microcredit companies. They are the lending only companies. Yes, but they operate as companies. Then the last tier, yes, like Fido. They are doing so well in the space. Then the last tier will be the individual money lenders, of which I would encourage you to maybe you can pick a license and lend to your to your colleagues. Yes, yes. So for the tier 4 we have the microcredit institutions and the susu collectors. So in the space, and all of them, as I mentioned earlier, should have operating license, even for the susu collectors. So that's how it plays out in this.
All right. Well, Ebenezer Korte, thank you for coming. I'll give you about 45 seconds if you have a final statement you want to share with our audience.
So what I would say is that it's important that we are responsible in our borrowing. It's key. And our economic situation hinge on responsible borrowing. Employment hinge on responsible borrowing. If we pick the funds, we pick the loans, and we don't pay, you are putting somebody out of employment. You are crowding out institutions. And ultimately, it will impact negatively on our economy. Thank you.
Ebenezer Korte, Esquire, is the Executive Director or CEO of Microcredit Association of Ghana, and he joined us for this conversation. Thank you so much for coming.
Celebrated World Oral Health Day. So your buccal cavity, aka your mouth, what's going on there? Do you know? Do you care? And when you brush your teeth, is it just and then you're gone? We're going to be delving into those very important matters because, believe it or not, what happens here can affect the rest of your body. Joining us for a conversation on this, Dr. Isaac Pinamang, restorative dentistry resident, University of Ghana Dental School, and also at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. And then Dr. Mensa Tabi Amankwa, public health practitioner and dental public health resident at the University of Ghana Dental School. Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining the conversation.
We are happy to be here this morning.
Okay. Let's start with the family, because every family, you want to stay healthy, especially with children and all of that. What should the focus be when it comes to the family circle and taking care of our teeth?
Right. Ben, thank you for the opportunity, and we would like to take your platform and tell Ghanaians that if you're a mother, if you're a father, uncle, whatever, this information is not for you alone. It will go a long way to help your entire team. We would want to extend our greetings to Professor Hewlett, the Dean of the Dental School, and then Professor Kwesi Champong, who is the CEO of the Maritime Hospital. Family settings, and if your team can help me here, we have a picture that we want to show of a family that is smiling. So as they are trying to get that for us, we will continue our conversation. In the family setting, mothers tend to be more attentive to their brushing, and by extension to the children. For the men, most of the time it's touch and go, generally speaking. But if the oral hygiene of the children, the habits are not exposed at the early stages, then it makes it difficult. So we get parents coming to us telling us that my 3-year-old would simply not allow me to brush, so I leave them. At the tender age, when you see the teeth coming in, that is even the best time to start bringing them to the dental clinic. As young as 1 year, as young as 6 months, you can bring them around. There are different treatments that we do to even prevent them from developing cavities in the first place. That is one way to look at it. But when you expose the children to the brushing habits, the teachers have a role to play. They show them in school, they show them videos of cartoons of teeth brushing. It goes a long way. So by the time they're a year or two, they are constantly asking the parents, we are not brushing this evening, are we not brushing in the morning?
So
and
it gets into their psyche.
It gets
they feel
into their
it's
psyche.
a part of being
it's a
human.
routine.
Right.
Yes. So that is the starting point. But within the family setting also, the adult toothpaste, adult toothbrushes are not the same for the children. So as a family, when you are planning, you make sure you are getting the children's toothbrushes, you are getting the children's toothpaste. The concentration of the fluoride and other chemical components are not the same. It's just like any other medicine. You wouldn't give an adult dose to a child. And the size of the toothpaste for a child is equivalent to how their brush looks like. So it's usually pea size, and is the motion, which later Dr. Pennerman will share with us, is the motion that matters, making sure it's thorough. And their reviews when they come in, the fluoride therapy, the facial sealants that we do for them, it goes a long way at preventing oral diseases in children and in the family setting as a whole.
Dr. Pennerman, what are some of the common issues that usually come up when it comes to teeth-related problems, tooth decay and others? Just walk us through the very prevalent ones, especially in our part of the country, and how we can address them.
Yes. So the common cases that we see every day are, we have caries, tooth loss, gum disease, oral cancers, and bad breath. Bad breath, we mean halitosis. And of all these things, if they come very early, we have treatment options for them. I think most of the time people come to the clinic and they think anytime you are going to the clinic, it means you are going to take out your teeth. No, we've moved away from that time. Something like caries, if you come in early, we have treatment modalities for you. If it's not badly broken down, we can restore with composite or
Okay, so I want us to do something, though it's going to take a little bit of time. I want you to, when you pick each one, just give a layman's explanation. When you say caries, what are caries?
So caries means holes in the teeth. You know, some people, you open their mouth and you see holes in most of their teeth or some of their teeth. That's what we call by caries.
Reminds me of that advert.
Yeah.
Caries,
that's tooth decay. So with caries, for instance, if you come very early, we can restore. We have materials that we use to restore caries for you. If it's even gone very far, we have other treatment modalities for you. It's not just about taking the teeth out. We have a treatment we call root canal treatment. So if you have caries and you come very early, we can restore. If you come late, we can do root canal treatment for you. When it comes to tooth loss, if you have a missing tooth or if you lost any tooth and you come, we can replace it for you. We have several replacement modalities now. When we come to gum disease, mostly people complain that when they brush their teeth, they have bleeding gum, their gums get swollen and everything. If you come, we have treatment modalities for you. We can clean your teeth and everything for you, and all those things will go. When it comes to bad breath, most of the bad breath that we get are as a result of food packing, tartar, plaque, packing around our teeth. So if they come early, we have treatment modalities for them. We can clean around their teeth and everything will go. With oral cancers, it's just a matter of coming early. If we have people visiting us early, we can detect these things early and then we can get them sorted out.
I see. So interesting bits there, but coming back to you, what are the risk factors for some of these? What causes them?
Okay, so the cavities, caca, as we call it, it sounds very complex when you see it, and it's very, very common. You see it in a lot of people, but we think of it in a very complex way. We'll try and break it down. If you are eating highly refined, sugary diets, you are at risk of developing tooth cavities. If you are not brushing, especially the nighttime brushing, you are at risk. If your toothpaste
and let's put it this way, if you're consuming a lot of those sugary items, refined items at night and not brushing, it's like a pate after pate in your mouth for the germs, right?
Exactly. So when you look at the factors that make a convenient environment for cavities to even develop, you need a time, you need a tooth surface, you need the bacteria and their byproducts. So when you see people with broken teeth, multiple holes in the teeth, it's because You ate, left food remnants in your mouth, bacteria acted on it, and a byproduct of that is acidic in nature, which softens the teeth and eventually breaks down the teeth. That is how cavities are formed.
But let me just ask this quickly before you go on, because there's also this thing where some dental professionals will tell you that it's not the best of habits to brush after eating, because once you've eaten, the enzymes get to work and your enamel or something gets a bit soft right after eating. So brushing immediately would be wearing off the enamel. That's why some people also think I shouldn't brush immediately after eating.
That has been misconstrued a bit, or maybe the way it is put. When you eat, the saliva is there. It acts as a buffer. The mouth is not supposed to be an acidic environment. So the saliva is there to always buffer it up. Now, when you eat over time, the saliva kicks in and brings it back to the normal pH. If you eat acidic, highly acidic foods, oranges and any other high acid food, and you brush immediately, yes.
Okay.
At that point, there is acid in play, so essentially you can abrade the tooth surface a bit. But it's not so severe that immediately you do that, you are going to lose your teeth or wear off the enamel in its entirety.
Okay.
It usually comes to how you are even brushing. Recommendation for children, once again, is that after their snack time, they rinse their mouth. Same for adults. If you can't do anything at all, when you're done eating, just rinse out. It will get a lot of the particles out. Saliva will do the rest.
But also floss.
You floss.
Okay.
Do the rest. But to pick on the other risk factors quickly, smoking, alcohol. When we say
you mentioned those two again, smoking
and alcohol. Yes, they contribute.
Smoking, alcohol.
I don't want to be chased out of here, but yes, it's a major risk factor.
Why is that the case?
So when you take smoking, it's a really complex mix. It slows down healing, and in the mouth, healing is number one. Ben, think of it this way: how many times have you had sauce in your mouth? And ask yourself, how many scars do you have in your mouth?
It's rare.
It's rare. So it tells you healing, regeneration ability in the mouth is at peak. And smoking affects those processes, smoking, alcohol combined. Beyond that, when you have systemic conditions like diabetes, hypertension, their overall effects also impair healing. Beyond that, it contributes to inflammation, and you have a lot of bacteria in the mouth. Everybody does. Everybody has bacteria. So when you create a very convenient environment where the bacteria is thriving, inflammation is going on, that means their byproducts now go systemic.
Okay.
So if you have diabetes, it's going to make it worse. And the diabetes in turn worsens the oral disease that you're having.
Dr. Pinaman, before we go to the complications, we also know that poor nutrition can play a part, because if you're not eating well, even your immunity is compromised. Vitamin A deficiency, C, D. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so when we look at vitamin D, for instance, we know vitamin D is known for strong bones and teeth. So if someone is not on a good diet, someone is not eating well, you are lacking these vitamins, A, C, especially D, you are not going to get strong bones and strong teeth. Not getting strong bones and strong teeth, definitely with any of these risk factors coming in, you can easily develop caries. Vitamin C, for instance, and A, you need them for your gum health. Not having them, you are going to tilt to gum disease, periodontal disease, and all those things. Yes.
And in terms of the complications, worst case scenario, you've ignored all the warning signs. You felt the pain and felt, these dentists, they are going to butcher me and all of that, which is not what they do. You know?
Yes,
we really need to stop demonizing in our heads. No, but on a more serious level, you speak to some people and, very well educated and everything. They are scared to death of going to see the dentist. For me, it started very early in life, so I guess that fear never happened. But the complications, what could they be?
Yeah, so complications, when we look at something like gum disease, if you don't pay attention and get treated for gum disease, you are going to get tooth loss.
Tooth loss?
Yeah, you are going to lose your teeth. If you lose your teeth, it will lead to you coming to replace it, which is more costly. there are other serious complications, something like Lardwick's angina, even death. Just common thing like tooth decay, it can progress to what we call Lardwick's angina. And if Lardwick's angina, we don't pay good attention to your care, we can lose you. Yes. So some people don't know that tooth decay and tooth issue can lead to death.
It can cause death.
Yes. We've lost someone like that before. Someone who came in very late, stayed at home when the care started. The person never came. When we saw at the terminal stage and we couldn't do much, so we lost this person. It's all as a result of tooth caries. And oral problems too can affect your self-confidence.
Yeah.
Yes. Recently, I met someone who said he's not confident to speak in public because he feels the mouth is smelling or something. And after we did a few procedures for the person, now he's very confident to talk among his peers.
I mean, you can smile, and then while everybody's smiling, but
yes,
you know,
you can't express yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
I see. But you see, for the men out there, men are a bit concerned about some issues because apparently, depending on what's happening in your mouth, it could affect you. If you have diabetes as well, it could have an impact. But if your mouth is not healthy, your buccal region is not healthy, it could affect your heart. It could even affect your erection. Is that correct?
Yes, it's correct. There's
I'm looking at men right now. They are very worried, very concerned.
So we don't have any paper to support that.
No empirical research.
Yes, no empirical research yet. But what happens is that oral disease have systemic implications. Like my brother rightly said, chronic inflammation leading to affecting diabetes and your entire system. They can all lead to erectile problems. Yes, that's why we recommend that people get to see their dental care early. Get that one solved, and then every other thing will follow.
Okay. We'll be putting a picture up shortly, but at the tail end, I would also like you to demonstrate one more time how to properly brush our teeth and all of that. So that's the picture right there.
Yes, Ben, let's touch on this importantly. What do you see? What is the most striking thing when you look at the picture? It's of a family. The man is missing a tooth.
The man is missing a tooth. I mean, the baby, it's normal beauty. The lady has what I see to be a perfect set of teeth. But the man, something is missing somewhere. What's happening?
Look at the man's eyebrow.
Oh, I didn't spot that. So I guess the point you're trying to make is I saw the tooth, the missing tooth before I saw the missing eyebrow.
Yes, and then when you're speaking to everybody, Dr. Pennerman mentioned self-confidence. When you're speaking to everybody, the part that they immediately focus on is the middle third of your face. This way. That's the part they are seeing. So if not for anything, know that when you're talking, people are looking at you that way. Then you've seen people in face masks, interacted with them. When they take it off, you may not recognize them, but you've seen the upper half of their face. If you were seeing the middle and the lower third, you would recognize them. So we can't overemphasize, if not for anything, aesthetically, the confidence for you to talk. And sadly, most of the issues related to teeth are preventable. But we see them all the time happening at terminal stages, even though they are very, very preventable.
So they are preventable. Let's do our best. Let's take care of ourselves. Take care of our oral health. Visit a dentist when you need to. Let's wrap the conversation with a demonstration of how to brush our teeth. How do we do it well? They say don't spend less than 2 minutes, right?
2 to 3 minutes is
2
fine.
to 3 minutes.
Yeah, some people would say...
I take my time.
Some would even say play one song. Not obviously not a very long song, but a standard.
Okay, so
right, let's do this. So in about 30, 40 seconds.
Yes. So this is the mouth, this is the lower teeth, the lower teeth, the upper teeth, and this is the tongue. So when you are brushing, you have to brush all the surfaces of the teeth. Yes. We have the facial side, we have the lingual side, and we have the chewing surface. You have to make sure you get all these places brushed. Sometimes people think brushing is about brushing is so hard. No. If you use too much energy or effort, you are rather going to cause abrasions. Yeah, we see people in the clinic with evidence of that.
I say see the scratches.
Yes. Yeah, so when you are brushing, what you have to do, just be gentle. We brush in circles. I think growing up, we were taught that if you are brushing, you have to brush like this. No, it doesn't matter. You have to brush in circles. So you move around like this.
So it's like you're wiping off.
Yes. Right. You move around like this. So this is the facial side. Then you look at the occlusal side, the chewing surface. That one, you brush it up in circles. Then come to the back side. That's the lingual side where the tongue is. The same procedure. You brush in circles. And then you come to the upper one. This is the facial side. You brush in circles. You come to the chewing surface here.
So it's like repeating the same.
And then we have the palatal side here. You repeat the same thing. And once you are done with the teeth, you don't have to forget the tongue is also there. Yeah. Yes, it also traps a lot of food particles. So you brush the tongue. Most of the time, some of the brushes come with something at the back. That's very good for the tongue. So if your brush...
Sort of like bristles to take off.
Yes. Right. So use that one to clean the tongue. If your brush doesn't have that, you can still use these bristles to clean that.
We really have to go. I see you've taken out some floss bits in there. Is this for me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. Look at me. Dental floss.
Yeah.
Oh,
or something.
Let's do this properly for this award. Thank you very much for this package. Dental floss. If you don't have floss, get some. Easy way of taking out debris from your mouth when you have a meal. That's how we cap off the show this morning. Don't you forget, it is always brought to you courtesy of Waylead Properties, leading the way in properties. Those who joined us for this conversation, Dr. Isaac Pinamang, restorative dentistry resident at the University of Ghana Dental School and also at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. And then we had Dr. Mensa Kabi Amankwa, public health practitioner, dental and public health resident at the University of Ghana Dental School and also at the International Maritime Hospital. Thank you for staying with us. Up next, we have Joy News Desk. My name is Benjamin Akakwa. I did this together with Sweetie Abochi.